Hi everybody, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Good evening everyone. So far meron tayong 23 viewers and welcome to our mini coaching. This is our first na live via YouTube. So kamusta naman kayo dyan mga kaibigan? I think nasa chatroom natin ang inyong mga favorite na Met lecturers. Andiyan po si Ma'am Jenny, andiyan si Sir Mark, ang Sir Noy, andiyan din, Sir Aaron. So kompleto ang Saturday team natin for tonight. So magandang gabi everybody, good evening. Now, let's check muna kung malinaw ba ang ating reception sa inyong mga areas. Kung malinaw, sabi naman na yes. Yes po, malinaw. Good evening po sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi po. Good evening. And I think, by the way, itong ating YouTube live is not only for our hybrid students but also to your friends. So kung meron kayong kilala na gusto matuto sa review, mga kaibigan, ang gawin nyo lang, my dear friends, ay i-share ang ating link ngayon. O ayan, aantayin namin yan, mga kaibigan. So lahat ng mga MET hybrid students na present ngayon sa ating YouTube live, pwede papunta muna sa Facebook at paki-share ang ating link for tonight para mapanood ng iba pang mga kaibigan nyo na gustong mag-review para sa board exam for teachers. Pa-share naman po, guys, pa-share natin yung link natin dyan. At syempre mga kaibigan, aside from sharing the link, baka naman hindi pa kayo nakakapag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. So kung hindi pa, I think you must take the time to do it now. Napakadali lang my dear friends. Sa medyo baba lang ng video na ito, i-click nyo lang po yung subscribe button, di ba? Subscribe na my dear friends para naman lumakas ang ating YouTube channel mga kaibigan. O siguro, I'll give you time. Gawin nyo na ngayon. Subscribe na. So meron kayong dalawang task ngayong gabi na to. Number 1, i-share sa Facebook. Sabi ito ay libre, open for everybody. At number 2, don't forget to subscribe. Ayan. Kasi my dear friends, talaga isa to sa mga advocacy ng MET na talaga namang palakasin ang YouTube channel natin para naman makapag-spread tayo ng correct information sa YouTube kung saan ang dami-daming mga confusing at ang dami-daming mga shady na mga nakapost. So, palakasin po natin ang ating MET YouTube channel. Once again mga kaibigan, number 1, ang first task nyo, my dear friends, i-share nyo sa inyong Facebook pages ang ating link. At pangalawa, baka naman, pa-subscribe naman tayo dyan. Subscribe naman. Di ba? Nakapag-subscribe ba tayo mga kaibigan? Nakapag-sub na ba? Come on. Antayin namin yan. And konting panahon na lang, my dear friends, we will actually start our mini coaching for tonight. At syempre, don't forget to click the notification bell para naman pa may mga bagong uploads na videos ang MET YouTube channel, ay updated po kayong lahat. Di ba? So ayan, nagawa na ba yung mga task? Panagawa na yung mga task, pasabi, yes sir, done. Patype ng done sa ating public chat kung nagawa na yung mga task ninyo. Tara, tulungan nyo naman ng family, ang MET family, para naman mas spread natin ang good news. So ayan, pasabi ng done kung na-share na sa Facebook page o sa Instagram at syempre kung nakapag-subscribe na sa YouTube. Ayan. Are you excited? Actually, my dear friends, yung effort ng MET Review Center para sa ating mga estudyante na from the very beginning, I think 2 years na tayo nag-review mga kaibigan, 2 years na. Ito yung aming promise sa inyo na mula sa umpisa hanggang sa uli, we will be with you in this journey until makuha mo na ang lisensya mo. Ayan, nag-like na din. Done. Salamat po mga kaibigan. Thank you. Sa mga nag-done, thank you po. Thank you. And salamat si Jer Ecraser, si Tong, salamat Tong, my brother. Dan, si Rasalik Lopez, salamat. Natina Santiago, salamat. Thank you. Ayan. So ayan po. Ayan, salamat. Jennifer Taberna. Ano ko ito yung ating mga estudyante ng hybrid. Salamat po. Rochelle, salamat. Ayan. Thank you for sharing and thank you for subscribing sa ating YouTube channel. Ayan. And please, pa-share din sa mga friends ninyo. Ha? So, ayan. Actually, ito yung unang mini coaching pero in the very near future, marami pang i-upload ng mga exciting content ang ating MET Review Center YouTube channel. Abangan nyo lang yan, mga kaibigan. Abangan lang. So, meron pa bang nag-share? Hello po everybody. Sa mga kakapasok lang po, meron po kayong 2 tasks for tonight. Number 1 is i-share sa Facebook page ninyo ang ating YouTube link para mapanood ng mga friends niyo na kailangan din mag-review for the board exam for teachers. And number 2, pa-subscribe naman tayo dyan. I-click yung subscribe button and then please also click the notification bell. Salamat Jericho, dana rin daw siya. Salamat, thank you. Ayan. Pa-subscribe po mga kaibigan ha. Antayin natin yan. Ayan. Salamat, Rasalik Lopez. Ayan, thank you. Salamat din. Our pleasure. At mga kaibigan, isa to sa mga advocacy ng Met Review Center na magpakalat ng mga impormasyong tama at pinag-iisipan at nire-research. So ayan. So, share lang natin bago tayo magsimula. And ngayon, my dear friends, since ito ay mini coaching, ano ba ang aasahan natin dito? Meron tayong mga lectures na present tonight na mag-discuss ng tig-10 questions from the board exam for teachers. So ayan, tig-10. Kaya hindi naman to ganun kahaba para naman ito ay short and crisp, mga kaibigan. O yung meron ba nagdone? Shared na. Salamat, Tong, my brother. Hi sa inyo sa Imus. Happy birthday sa tatay ko. Happy birthday, Papsi, kahapon. Happy birthday. And Ma'am, si happy birthday last week. Diba? I took the opportunity to greet my parents dito sa ating YouTube live. Ayan. And syempre, Mark, happy birthday last week. Ayan. O, dana rin po si Jolina. Hi, Jolina. Dana rin. Salamat. We are now 37 on dito sa ating YouTube live. Ma'am Jen, okay na po ba tayo? Or, hello. Dana rin po, Fuentes, Juna Lane B. Salamat po. By the way, type naman sa kayo galing. Nasa area kayo, nasa Maynila ba kayo, nasa Cebu, nasa Batangas, nasa Jansan, nasa kayo, nasa Amerika. Wow naman. Dana rin po si Ma'am Juna Lane. Salamat po. And tagasan kayo? Nasa kayo galing? Ayan. Kumain na po ba kayo? Actually, pwedeng kumain habang nanonood sa ating mini coaching. And don't forget mga kaibigan, na spread na news. Bukas, meron pa uli tayong batch at yun po ating second batch ng ating Met Mini Coaching. So, ayan. Asan dyan yung mga hybrid natin estudyante? Represent naman, mga kaibigan. Sino yung mga hybrid natin dyan? Ayan. Naku, dumadagdag ang mga lecturers na present sa atin ngayon. Talaga namang exciting ang gabing ito. Hi everybody. So please, again sa mga bagong pasok, meron tayong 2 tasks for this evening. Number 1, i-share sa Facebook ninyo ang ating link para mapanood ng mga kaibigan nyo na gustong matuto o gustong maka-experience ng review ng MET. At pangalawa, syempre, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, ang Met Review Center YouTube channel. O ayan, ito na, may announcement tayo mga kaibigan. Mag-start tayo ng 7:15. So, yung mga kaibigan nyo, tawagin nyo na, mga kaibigan. Ito pa, meron pa kayong chance bago tayo magsimula. So, please, ha? Ayan. So, 7:15 ang ating start. Kamusta po kayo? How are you guys? Are you doing okay? Oh, ayan. So, habang nag-aantay pa tayo ng ilang pa mga viewers, nagawa nyo na ba yung kailangan natin gawin? Number 1, i-share sa Facebook ang ating link. At number 2, mga kaibigan, mag-subscribe sa ating channel. Pero bago yan, my dear friends, mag-commercial muna tayo. Mark, ganyan na ba ang ating commercial dyan? Handa na ba? Subscribe na tayo. Good evening po. Shing Blessed Ventures. Hi po. Magandang gabi. Are we on? Mark, okay na ba tayo dyan? Magandang gabi ulit sa inyo, everybody. Good evening po. Ay, hindi
Hi,
pa.
EJ.
Hi, Sir Noy. Kamusta
Hi.
po? Sir, parang hindi pa po tayo on. Ay
Hindi
na
pa
po.
ba?
Ayun na po. Okay na, sir. Salamat po.
Okay.
Sir Noy, kamusta ka dyan sa place mo? Kamusta naman?
Okay naman. So, excited. Actually, I'm very excited tonight kasi ito yung ating first mini coaching via YouTube, sa YouTube channel natin. I'm very, very excited.
Totoo
Yes.
po. And sir,
Kumusta ka dyan
talaga
sa
namang,
Cavite, Edward?
ano po sir? Sorry po.
Kumusta ka dyan sa Cavite?
Okay naman sir, medyo umuulan po kanina pero okay naman sir. Actually sir, we are so honored today, actually tonight na ang unang lecturer na talagang mag-open ng ating mini coaching sa YouTube ay ang walang iba kundi ang ating Sir Noy. So mga kaibigan, show naman some love para kay Sir Noy. Baka naman pwede magpa-heart tayo dyan sa ating comment section para kay Sir Noy. Come on, sa ating mga hybrid students. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. And once again mga kaibigan, Sir Noy, I told them na tonight meron silang dalawang task. Yung una ay i-share sa Facebook ang ating YouTube live link. At pangalawa, baka naman pwede mag-subscribe sa ating channel. So ayan. Sabi po ni Julina, sir, hi Sir Noy and Sir EJ, watching from Taguig. Ito mga Tagigers. Hi po mga taga-Taguig.
Hello
Kamusta po?
there. Hello sa mga taga-Tagig. Yes.
So sir, I think simulan na po natin. Sir Noy, take it away
Okay.
po.
Naka-on na ba ako, Mark, Lester?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good evening everyone. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat, I know it's Saturday and I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward ito sa araw na ito because this is our very first mini coaching, So sa gabing ito, sabi nga ni Sir EJ natin kanina na basically we have two tasks. Okay, the first one is to like and then of course to subscribe dun sa ating YouTube channel. So for this mini coaching, there will be several lecturers for tonight who will give you certain tips, techniques, and other things that we might learn from para sa ating licensure exam for teachers. So kasama natin dito si Sir Edward, nandiyan si Sir Mark, Lester, si Engelbert of course will be joining us later also. Si Sir Aaron will also be here later. So kaming 5 teachers natin from MET, we were tasked to give you certain questions that we might want to dig deeper into, and we feel that these questions are usually appearing in the board exam, and it's good that we are exposed, ma-expose tayo sa mga ganitong uring tanong. So, para hindi matagal gaano ang ating pag-uusap, dahil hindi lang naman ito yung huli nating gagawin, ayon nga sa ating executive director, marami pang mga mini ayudas na magaganap sa mga susunod pang buwan. When you say mini ayudas, ito yung mga mini coaching na magaganap dito sa ating YouTube channel. So, importante talaga na makapag-like and subscribe kayo at syempre i-hit nyo yung notification bell para kapag merong kaganapan dito sa ating Met Review, unang-una kayo sa makakakuha ng magandang balita. So, ito yung unang patikim natin, Ito yung unang patikim natin sa marami pang mga susunod na mga mini coaching sa darating na mga buwan. So, sabi nga ni Sir EJ, ako daw yung unang salvo o ako yung unang magbubukas ng ating mini coaching, mini online coaching. And for my task tonight, I will be focusing on facilitating learning, or sometimes we call it principles and techniques of teaching. Pumili ako ng 10 magagandang mga tanong na sa aking palagay marami tayong mapupulot na mga idea at marami tayong mapupulot na mga kaalaman upang higit tayong magkaroon ng mataas ang pagkakataon o chance ang pumasa sa ating board exam, sa ating licensure exam for teachers. So wag nating pangpahabain pa, wag na tayong magpatumpik-tumpik pa dito. Simulan na natin ang mga napili kong mga katanungan, Sige, tutulungan ako ng ating tech supervisor ng MET na si Clarissa sa aking PowerPoint presentation. Okay, sige. Clarissa, pwede ba natin ipakita sa kanila yung unang-unang napiling tanong? Sige. Babasahin ko muna yung tanong at pagkatapos ito, I will also read yung mga options, and then before natin ipakita yung tamang sagot, pag-usapan natin, himayin natin ang tanong, himayin din natin ang mga pagpipilian para makita natin kung bakit tayo napunta doon sa sagot na yon, o bakit hindi si A, bakit hindi si C, o bakit si letter B, o bakit hindi si letter D. Yan ang paraan ng ating coaching sa paghihimay, ano? Hihimayin natin ang mga katanungan at ang mga posibleng mga kasagutan. Sa unang tanong, ang sabi dito, without abandoning other duties of a teacher, Teacher Ella considers herself mainly as a facilitator by which her students become curious and discovers ideas on their own. This is ideal for a blank class. Okay, there are a lot of things on the question, on the STEM, that we have to take note of. Ano? Ito yung mga tinatawag natin mga key words. Ano? These keywords will guide us in choosing the right answer. Nakita ko dito, isa sa pinakamalaking keywords dito is yung tinatawag na word na facilitator. Si Teacher Ella daw ay ang tingin niya sa kanyang sarili o ikinukonsider niya ang kanyang sarili bilang pangunahing facilitator, mainly as a facilitator. Kung saan daw ang kanyang mga mag-aaral ay nagiging mga curious at siya ay nagiging, they try to discover ideas on their own. Now, ang ganitong klase ng pagtuturo daw ay bagay na bagay sa isang klase na ginagamitan ng letter A, activity-centered, letter B, student-centered, letter C, lesson-centered, or letter D, teacher-centered. Okay, sa ating hybrid program, di ba itinuturo namin sa inyo doon ang ilang mga tips kung paano agad-agad nating mahihiwalay yung tama at mga posibleng sagot. Okay, kailangan nating maihiwalay muna, unang-una sa lahat, yung obviously mali. Kumbaga may mga level tayo ng paghihiwalay. Ihiwalay natin yung obvious na mali, pagkatapos ihiwalay natin yung posibleng pwedeng sagot, hanggang makita natin eventually yung tamang-tamang sagot o yung pinaka-tumpak na sagot. Isa sa mga tips o techniques sa tinuturo natin is yung konsepto ng parallel answer. Ibig sabihin, dalawang option pero iisa lang ang pinapatunguhan. Kapag ganito ang pagpipilian, kung equal lang naman yung sinasabi ng dalawang option, malamang hindi ito ang sagot. Kagaya halimbawa, activity-centered. Letter A is activity-centered. Napakalapit niya sa option letter C, which is lesson-centered. Activity-centered, lesson-centered, medyo iisa ang pinapatunguhan nito. So malakas ang aking hinala kung ako ang magkukuha ng exam na hindi ito ang posibleng maging tumpak na sagot. So iikot ako, magpo-focus ako sa dalawang posibleng sagot. Student-centered or teacher-centered. Pero dahil nga ako ay gina-guide ng aking keyword na facilitator, no? Si Teacher Ella daw ay kino-consider niya ang kanyang sarili bilang facilitator. So ibig sabihin nito, ang kanyang focus ay wala sa kanyang sarili, kundi sa kanyang mga mag-aaral. Kaya dahil naman dito, kitang-kita obvious ang sagot natin dito, na ito ay isang ideal sa isang klase na ginagamitan ng student-centered teaching or student-centered class. So the right answer here is of course letter B. Pakita nga natin kung tama ang ating sagot. Yes, tumpak. So ano nga ba ang student-centered class? O ano bang ibig sabihin nito? When you say student-centered class or student-centered teaching, it is a kind of teaching wherein the teacher considers himself or herself mainly as a facilitator of learning. Hindi siya yung pinagmumulan lamang ng learning, kundi siya yung nagsisilbing traffic aid ng klase kung saan ang bata mismo ang siyang nagdi-discover, ang siyang umaalam ng kanyang aralin. Ibig sabihin nito, actively engage yung mga bata para malaman yung kanyang lesson. Hindi spoon feeding, hindi nakafocus sa teacher, kundi nakafocus sa kanyang mga mag-aaral. So the right answer here, of course, tama kayo. This is student-centered class or letter B. Okay? Sa mga nakatamang sagot, good job. Let's proceed to item number 2. Sabi dito, what is the ultimate aim of classroom management? You know, the word classroom management, it is a big word. Malaki siyang word, ano? It is a big umbrella that covers a lot of things. Kasali dito, of course, yung discipline in the classroom, setting up of routine activities, di ba? Yung the way you manage the class, di ba? All of these things are part and parcel of classroom management. But ang question dito is the ultimate aim. Para saan ba? kumbaga, at the end of the day, bakit ang guro ay kailangan mag-practice ng mahusay na classroom management? Ano ang mga pagpipilian? A, to set up conditions that brings about effective teaching and learning. Letter B, to make children realize that they cannot do everything they want. Letter C, to secure conformity to rules with ease. And letter D, to remove physical conditions in the room that distracts children's attention. Well, basically, A, B, C, and D are all parts of classroom management. Bahagi siya ng classroom management, hindi ba? Like for example, discipline, conformity with rules, di ba? For the student to learn that they cannot do whatever they please, di ba? These are all part and parcel of classroom management. But what is the ultimate aim? Ano ba ang goal ng classroom management? The answer here is, of course, letter A. Classroom management is practiced to set up conditions that brings about effective teaching and learning. So at the end of the day, ang classroom management ay para sa produktibong pagtuturo at epektibong pagkaroon ng pagkatuto. So yung mga letter B, letter C, and letter D, although they are part and parcel, bahagi sila ng classroom management, ang ultimate aim talaga ay si letter A upang magkaroon ng effective teaching and learning. So tingnan natin kung tama ang sagot natin. Number 2, the answer is of course letter A. Very good. So I'm sure yung ating mga estudyante diyan sa hybrid program, tama ang mga sagot ninyo, no? So invite your friends, ano, especially those who are not able to enroll themselves dito sa ating hybrid program. Imbitahan nyo sila na dahil libre naman ito. Libre itong ating ginagawang mini coaching. Malaking bagay na makarinig sila ng mga ganitong klaseng mga pagtuturo para makiliti ang kanilang isipan, lalo pa sila ma-inspire mag-aral ng husto. At dahil dito, makatataas ang kanilang chance ng maipasa ang licensure exam for teachers. So ikalat natin, ano? Ikalat natin yung mabuting balitang ito. Sige. How about we proceed with number 3? Okay. Ito gusto ko itong tanong na to, no? Rote learning in the teaching learning process is best described as blank. Rote learning. The magic word here is the rote learning. Okay. When you say rote learning teaching, okay, this is very similar to a teacher, okay, whose style of teaching is making his or her students into tiny parrots. Why did I say tiny parrots? Kasi sa rote learning, this is simply a repeat after me teaching technique. Inuulit lamang nung bata yung sinasabi ng teacher, pero hindi natin sigurado yung inuulit na salita ng bata, tama nga, or yun nga yung dapat nilang matutunan. I always love giving this example to my student. There was this particular teacher, at ang topic nila sa classroom nila is, sa English, yung pagkakaiba ng this is, at saka yung that is. So ang ginawa ng teacher, naglagay siya ng isang bola sa bandang likod ng kanyang classroom, at sabi niya sa kanyang mga estudyante, okay class, repeat after me. Tinuro niya yung bola at sinabing, that is a ball. Again, sabi ng mga bata, that is a ball. One more time, and louder this time. That is a ball. Sigawan na naman yung mga bata, that is a ball. Very good. So again, let's do it again. So that is a ball. Sabi naman ng mga bata, that is a ball. So paulit-ulit, inuulit ng mga bata yung salitang that is a ball. Hanggang maya-maya, yung bola nalaglag, gumulong. Sabi ng isang bata, Ma'am, gumulong po yung that is a ball. So ang pagkaintindi pala ng bata na ang tawag sa bilog na bagay na yon ay that is a ball. Ito ay isang delikadong pamamaraan. Ano? Ang rote learning is a very dangerous way of teaching students, especially the little ones, because they simply repeat things without understanding what they are saying. So they are becoming like little parrots. So based from my example, we can say that rote learning is characterized by what behavior? A, is it an automated behavior? Is it an in-depth way of doing things? Is it discovery-based? Is the student motivated when they do this? So, ano dito ang pinakamagandang description ng rote learning? Automated, in-depth, discovery, motivated. So the right answer here is by merely looking at the sign, meaning to say, whether is it positive or negative, makikita agad natin yung naiiba. Isa sa technique din nating tinuturo sa hybrid program is yung paglalagay ng sign sa bawat option. Like for example, automated. When you say automated, mechanical, in the classroom, is it positive or negative? At a student may say, parang negative ito. How about in-depth? Oh, that's positive. How about discovery? That is positive. Motivated? Positive. So by looking at the sign, we have a strong feeling that letter A is the right answer. So even if you did not review or you are not familiar with the term rote learning, by simply using yung mga techniques na tinuturo natin sa MED, makakakita pa rin tayo ng pag-asang makita yung tamang sagot. And my friends, you are right. The answer in number 3 is letter A, automated. Just like that is a ball. Paulit-ulit, paulit-ulit, automated. So, is it effective teaching? I don't think so. That is a very traditional way of teaching our student. So, let's check. Is it letter A, number 3? Very good. Your guess is as good as mine. The answer is, of course, letter A. So, again, teaching can be basically classified into two, traditional, and then, of course, we have non-traditional or progressive. Itong rote learning technique is part of what we call traditional teaching technique na dapat hindi natin ginagamit sa ating mga modernong pagtuturo sa ngayon. Okay, let's proceed with number 4. Okay. An integrated approach or an integrated teaching approach is far more effective than teaching isolated bits of information. What then should teacher avoid? In the board exam, I remember when I took the board exam also, very tricky. So totoo lang, medyo madali naman kung tutuusin ang mga tanong, pero sa paraan ng kanilang pagtatanong, medyo tricky kung minsan. Kagaya nito, ang hinahanap dito is something negative. Because of the word avoid, iiwasan, hindi kasali, etchapwera. So tungkol ito sa integrated approach, kung saan ang ibig sabihin ay mas maganda kung ang bawat mga sinasabi ng guro, ang kanyang mga pagtuturo ay konektado sa isa't isa, hindi mga isolated bits of information. Kaya naman sabi dito, pwede mong gawin ang tatlo maliban sa isa. So your task as a student, as a test taker, is to check one that does not belong to the group. In short, I have a strong feeling there will be 3 positives here and there will be 1 negative, and that negative will be the answer. That's the thing we have to avoid. Okay, how about let's check. Letter A, summarizing lesson. Is that positive or negative? When the teacher summarizes the lesson, is that good or bad? I think it's good. When you provide a summary, a conclusion, that's very, very important in a lesson. How about letter B? Knowledge utilization. Of course, I think it's good. Without even thinking that much, we can immediately say that this is good. Because of course, we must be able to apply the things that we learn. We must be able to learn, to utilize our knowledge. How about letter C? Teaching to the test. Nagtuturo daw yung teacher ayon kung ano ang lalabas sa examination. May malaking question yung estudyante. Positive kaya yon? Isip ka. So, iwanan mo muna siya. Dahil hindi ka makadecide kung positive or negative, itabi natin siya. But definitely, si A at saka si B, positive siya. Si letter C, medyo may duda ka. I-check natin si letter D. Use of problem-solving method. Of course, students, when they are exposed to problem-solving method, it's good because it increases their capacity to do analytic work and other things. So in short, by merely looking at the signs, positive, question mark, then positive. Then, of course, even if you are not familiar with that particular teaching approach, that integrated approach, then we can say that the thing that we should avoid here is letter C, teaching to the test. Teaching to the test, sa totoo lang, maraming mga teachers ang medyo guilty dito. Halimbawa, kung ano yung alam nilang lalabas sa test, particularly sa departmental exam, yun ang ituturo nila sa kanilang estudyante. para naman hindi maging kahiya-hiya sila pag lumabas yung result. Ibig sabihin, ang kanyang mga estudyante magiging mataas ang score dahil naituro na ng teacher yung mga questions na yon. I think that is negative because that is not an effective way of teaching. That does not produce critical thinking on the part of the student. So we must avoid it. So the answer here is letter C, teaching to the test. We must teach the concept, diba? It's not just because it will appear in the test, but the concept behind it or how to solve it. That's the way to do it. Hindi yung kung ano yung lalabas lang sa test yun ang ituturo mo. So let's check if our answer is correct. Number 4, letter C. Very good. Yan. So I'm sure you're getting the hang of it. This is how we do it in the Met Review hybrid class. Ano? We are very fun-loving people. We make learning fun, especially during this time kung saan naka-hybrid program tayo, meaning to say may mga nasa online tayo. Okay, may mga synchronous activities tayong ginagawa, but at the same time may mga asynchronous din. You are helped with our Met app, and then we have also yung ating mga courseware, meron tayong modules, di ba? At minsan may pagkakataon pa tayong magtanong ng face-to-face. We call it the Ask the Guru. Ano? So it's gonna be fun. So again, invite your friends to join us. Invite your friend. Click and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Okay, number 5. We're almost there. Kalahati na tayo. Which of the following does not contribute to facilitating the growth of creative intelligence among students? Again, similar to number 4, we are going to look again for something that is negative, does not contribute. So ibig sabihin, by merely looking at this STEM, there will be 3 positive answers, and then there will be, or 3 positive options and 1 negative option. So if you know how to weigh options, whether positive or negative, easy agad. Makikita mo na agad yung tamang sagot dito. Okay. So ano daw dito sa 4 ang hindi nakatutulong para maging higit na malikhain ng ating talinong pagiging malikhain ng ating mga mag-aaral? Letter A, integrating knowledge in a variety of fields. It's that positive or negative when the student is able to connect his knowledge in variety of fields. Is that positive or negative? Sabi niya, very positive. Yun, it's good. He is able to apply his knowledge not just in this particular subject but also in other subject. That's very good. How about letter B, peer sanction? Kung ang peer sanction naman, yung mga kaibigan daw ay may kuko o may kapit, may control sa kanyang pag-iisip o sa kanyang proseso ng kanyang mga aralin. How about letter C? Tolerance to new idea. Ibig sabihin ng may pagtanggap sa mga bagong idea. Hindi sarado ang kanyang isipan. There is tolerance. Is that positive or negative? And letter D, spirit of adventure in the classroom. When there is a spirit of adventure in the classroom, does that promote creative intelligence? Sabi niya, yeah, I think so. Di ba? Creativity will never flourish in a very autocratic classroom. So sabi niya, habang ina-analyze niya yung mga option, sigurado siya that letter A, letter D, sigurado siya positive yan. Tama yan. It contributes to creative intelligence. So naiwan sa kanya ngayon yung dalawa, letter B and letter C. Tolerance to new ideas or peer sanction. Sino sa dalawang ito ang hindi nagko-contribute para maging siya ay maging malikhain? And the answer is, of course, you are right. Letter B, peer sanctions. Ano? Ang tolerance to new idea, actually, it allows creativity. Kung minsan, yung maaaring tingin mo mali, kung minsan, ito ay nagbibigay ng inspirasyon para magkaroon ng mas creative na pag-iisip. Diba? Yung mga sinabing pangit, bawal, masama, diba? Pag yan ang nagkaroon sa isip mo, yan ang nagkakat ng creativity. But if you can tolerate, if you are open-minded, then it allows you to become more creative. So again, the answer here is letter B, peer sanction, meaning the control of the people around you, particularly your friends. Sometimes, ito yung major na dahilan kung bakit hindi naglilipad ang ating mga creativity. Kasi sabi ng kaibigan, ay mali, ay hindi popular, ay hindi uso. So nakakat agad, nakikirtail agad yung creativity. So let's check. Is number 5 letter C? Yes. The answer is letter C. So again, We have to develop creativity in our students, and one of the ways to encourage creativity is number one, tolerance to new idea. Number two, um, openness. There must be an open mind. Letter C, allowing them to express themselves. And then, of course, we should also practice integrating this to a lot of different fields. Ano? Yan ang mga iba't ibang way para mas maging creative ang ating mga students. Okay, now let's proceed. Number 6. Okay, number 6. Okay. For effective classroom management, which one should be avoided? Aba, pangatlo na to ha. Nagsimula tayo sa number 4, which should not belong to the group. Number 5, the same. And number 6, the same. We will look for something that does not belong to the group. Ano? So, naku, pag ganito ng ganito, magiging talagang antaas ng chance natin to pass the board exam. Ano? Kailangan matrain yung ating mata. Kung minsan kasi, hindi ina-underline yung word na not or the word avoided, hindi siya naka-underline. So, akala mo ang hinahanap is positive, yung pala yung negative. So, alin sa apat na ito ang hindi epektibong classroom management? Again, isipin, tandaan natin, an effective classroom management ultimately aims for effective teaching and learning. So, sino dito ang hindi nagbibigay kaganapan sa pagkakaroon ng epektibong pagtuturo at pag-aaral? Okay, letter A. Use classroom regulation to establish classroom routine. Okay? Dapat bang i-avoid dyan? Sabi niya, that's good, that's positive. Letter B. Make as many regulations as you can. Sandamakmak daw na rules ang gawin mo. Bilang guro, mas maraming rules, the better, sabi ni letter B. How about letter C? Stick to classroom regulation consistently. What is wrong is wrong, what is right is right. Consistent application of all these rules. Is that good? I think so. Consistency is one of the ways to instill discipline. Letter D, involve students in the formulation of classroom regulation. Kasama daw dapat ang mga estudyante natin when we create our classroom rules and regulation. Is that good? Of course. When the students are part of creating rules and regulation, they develop a feeling of ownership. They develop the feeling of ownership, and because they own the rules, they can also easily apply it. They can also easily practice it because they were the ones who developed the rule. So based on the following option, the very obvious answer here, or the thing that we should avoid as a classroom manager, is of course letter B. Make as many regulations as you can. It is not effective. Pag masyadong rules, oh my goodness, students will be in chaos. Lahat na lang pakiramdam nila mali ang kanilang ginagawa. Tandaan, you have your handbook naman eh. There is already handbook to guide their behaviors, their rules, etc., etc. But in the classroom, dapat kaunti lamang, madadaling matandaan. Siguro, if you can summarize your rules in the classroom, say for example, into 5 or 7, okay na yon. Because the smaller the number of rules, the easier for them to put it in their head and in their hearts. So letter A is correct. Kasama yan. Letter C is also correct. And letter D is also correct. Okay. Sige, the answer here is letter B. Let's check. Very good. Okay, how about number 7? We have last 3 more. Okay. The professional roles of teacher has changed from the sage on the stage. Before, ang tawag sa mga teacher, the sage on the stage, meaning nasa harapan nila ang pinagmumulan ng kanilang mga nalalaman. Siya yung fountain of all this learning. Pero nabago na yon, tinawag na siyang guide from the side. Now, this implies that A, teachers stress on their role as lecturer. B, teachers must project an almighty, omniscient image. C, teachers act more as facilitators of learning. Or letter D, teachers must cling to their power to improve roles. It is a very, very easy question. And we all know the answer. The answer here is letter C, of course. Diba? Siya yung very positive na answer dito. Teachers, they act as facilitator of learning. The answer is letter C. Let's check our answer if it's correct. Very good. Letter C. How about number 8? To obtain a well thought out answers, okay, which questioning behavior helps? Upang makuha daw natin yung sagot na talagang pinag-isipan, anong dapat gawin ng guro? A, asking open-ended question. involving as many as possible, asking non-directed question, or letter D, allowing sufficient time. Lahat naman ito dapat ginagawa ng teacher. Dapat open-ended ang question natin, meaning hindi lang iisa ang tamang sagot, maraming pwedeng posibleng sagot, involving dapat maraming estudyante ang kasali sa pagsagot, dapat hindi lang iisang estudyante tinatanong mo, non-directed, dapat sa lahat kasali, and letter D, allowing sufficient time, bigyan sila ng oras para makapag-isip. Pero dahil ang tanong dito is yung well thought out, if you want to produce a well thought out answer, pinag-isipan talaga, the answer here, of course, is letter D. You allow them sufficient time for them to really crystallize and fortify yung kanilang answer. So the answer is letter D. If you want a well thought out answer, allow your student to have sufficient time to think and answer. Okay, dokie. Let's check if it's correct. Very good. Letter D. How about number 9? According to Gardner's multiple intelligences theory, learners who have natural ability and inclination for sounds, meaning, structures, and sounds of language, very obvious ito. If it's about language, diba? Structure, meaning of, diba? Meaning of these words. Is it A, verbal, B, naturalistic, C, spatial, or D, musical? So this is basically bonus. The answer here is, of course, verbal linguistic intelligence. When you are very good with words, then there's a big possibility that you are a word smart person. Let's check our answer. Number 9, letter A. Very good. And then, of course, let's take the last answer. Last question. I'm sorry. Sabi dito, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. Now, this means that pupils learn best when they, di ba? Ano ibig sabihin? They learn best when they A, learn independently, B, they watch television, C, work with groups, or D, take active part in the learning process. The answer here is obviously, without a shadow of doubt, is letter D, when they take active part in the learning process, also known as learning by doing. Even John Dewey was advocating that you have to learn by doing it. So those are my 10 questions. Ito lang yung simula natin, ano? There will be more questions in the future. There will be more mini coaching in the future. Just stay with us. Keep on clicking the subscribe and like button, and then of course the notification bell. Take it away, Edward Padilla. Bye-bye.
Sir, vlogger ka na.
We have to do it. Ito yung hinihingi ng
So
pagkakataon.
please, pa-subscribe po tayo. Salamat, Sir Noy. Thank you very much po. Salamat. Good night po, sir. At syempre, after naman, Sir Noy, stick tayo sa Prof. Ed. Ang ating next lecture ay ang pinakabata and yet pinaka-accomplished naming lecturer, Sir Mark. Mark, andiyan ka na ba, Mark?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Mark, ready ka na? Take it away.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So, let me just share my screen.
So don't forget to subscribe, mga kaibigan, ha. Salamat. Thank you kay Sir Noy for ito si Sir Mark naman ngayon. Sir Mark, okay ka na? Ready ka na? Ayan. So habang inaabang natin si Sir Mark, ang ating gawin ay i-share ang link ng ating YouTube sa inyong Facebook accounts. At syempre, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. So ayan. Hi everybody, kamusta po kayong lahat? Kay Dwight, salamat daw kay Sir Noy, kay Sheng Blessed Ventures, hi daw sir, Jennifer Taberna, thanks Sir Noy. Sabi ni, ay paano sa States? Ayan, syempre. Salamat kay Sir Noy. Sir Mark, ready ka na? Okay na?
Yes, sir. Okay na.
Okay, take it away, sir.
Thank you so much, Sir EJ. Hello, everyone, and good evening, and I hope you're staying safe and well. So yeah, dire-diretso na tayo. Wala nang intro-intro kasi marami pa tayong gagawin ngayong gabing ito. So welcome to Technology for Teaching and Learning. So medyo ka-partner to ng Principles in Teaching na pinag-usapan natin kanina. So let's go for the first question. So for the first question is, what materials can be used when intended materials are not available? So what do you think? Ano sa tingin ninyo yung dapat gamitin kapag yung pinlano mong gamitin ay hindi available? Is it letter A, supplementary materials? Is it letter B, improvised materials? C, audiovisual materials, or D, digital materials. So isa-isahin natin. Pag sinabi nating supplementary materials, ito yung klase ng mga materials or learning materials na ibinibigay sa mga estudyante to enhance learning. Pag sinabi naman nating improvise, so ito yung alternative kung hindi man available, yung pinlano nating materials na gamitin. Pag sinabi naman nating audiovisual materials, ito yung mga materials na ginagamit to present images, to present videos, and even audios. And then pag di naman digital materials, masyado siyang malawak. So anything na digital, anything na ginagamitan natin ng electronic devices. So the answer here, what do you think would be the answer? So let me know on the chat box. So put it on the chat box, please. What do you think is the answer? Okay, so the answer here is letter B, improvised materials or alternative materials. So hindi naman pwedeng kapag hindi na available yung pinlano mo, tatandaan ninyo na hindi naman lahat ng pinaplano nating mga teachers laging nasusunod. So there are times na hindi available yung ganitong chemical, kung laboratory, kung science laboratory, o minsan naman may nasirang computer, kung computer subject yung tinuturo mo. So, kailangan tayong mga teachers, we are resourceful enough para makahanap ng improvised or alternative materials. So, sabi nga, the show must go on. Okay? So, katulad ngayon na hindi tayo nakakapagkita-kita, di ba, in the classroom. So, yung Met Review Center gumawa ng improvised or gumawa ng bagong sistema or alternative na sistema, which is yung mobile app natin at yung hybrid natin, na kahit pandemic, bawal ang face-to-face. So patuloy pa rin tayong matututo at patuloy pa rin tayong makakapag-review for the upcoming licensure examination for professional teachers. So excited na ba kayo for LEPT? So alam ko excited na kayo at alam kong prepared na kayo. Kaso ang hinihintay na lang talaga natin ay ang schedule ng board exam. So yan, next. Number 2, which of the following can best encourage participation by learners on the issue of family conflicts? So dito sa klaseng to, no, ang topic natin is all about family conflicts. So paano kaya natin ma-encourage, okay? Paano kaya natin ma-engage yung students to participate? Ano kaya yung gagamitin natin? Is it graphs and charts? Is it B, through PowerPoint presentation? Is it C, through role play? Or D, photos? Kung mapapansin po ninyo, karamihan or yung tatlo dyan sa options na yan is masasabi natin or maika-categorize natin siya as an iconic experience. Ibig sabihin pictorial, titingin ka lang, visual experience. At isa lang dyan yung makikita mong inactive experience which is tinatap or ini-engage yung participation ng mga estudyante. At ang sagot dito, no, to encourage participation, the answer here is letter C, yan, role play. Okay? So that's for the number 2 question. Next, Teacher Jessa wants to teach her, hindi dapat his. Pinalitan ko kasi yung pangalan kanina. So Teacher Jessa wants to teach her students about poisonous snakes. So which is the best to employ? Ito, tuwang-tuwa ako lagi ditong ituro no, sa mga estudyante ko tong poisonous snakes na to. Kung ikaw magtuturo ka about poisonous snakes, ano kayang klaseng experience yung i-implement mo or i-execute mo sa loob ng klase? No, meron tayong tinatawag na cone of experience at ito po ay ginawa ni Edgar Dale, 'di ba? So itong cone of experience na to binubuo siya ng 10 levels, no? The more na nasa peak ka ng cone, the more na nagiging abstract yung experience. Ibig sabihin ng abstract experience, ito yung klase ng experience na more of mind lang, more of reading, more of writing, for imagination. So yon, abstract experience. And then the more na bumababa ka dun sa cone, pa-bottom, no? nagiging concrete experience siya. Ibig sabihin, it includes your different senses. Active learning. So, and then itong 10 na experiences na to or level ng experiences na to na ginawa ni Edgar Dale kinategorize sa tatlo ni Bruner. Tinatawag natin itong enactive, iconic, and symbolic. Pag sinabi nating enactive experience, it refers to direct experiences, meaning first-hand mo siyang mararanasan. No? So pag sinabing inactive experience, so pag sinabi nating poisonous snakes, hahawakan mo yung poisonous snakes, no? Pag-eeksperimentuhan mo yung poisonous snakes, ibig sabihin ma-expose ka sa poisonous snakes. Do you think i-allow ba natin yung mga estudyante natin na hawakan ng poisonous snakes? Let me know on the chat box. Sige nga, patingin nga ako sa chat box. Do you think, or ikaw ba, i-allow mo ba yung estudyante mo na hawakan ang poisonous snakes? Is it a yes or a no? Let me know on the chat box. Okay, so syempre, no ang sagot natin. No? So hindi pwedeng inactive experience. So ika-cancel na din natin yung actual experience kasi wala naman yan dun sa 3 categories na sinabi ni Bruner. So ang matitira na lang si iconic experience tsaka si symbolic experience. So now, pag sinabi naman nating iconic experience, it refers to field trips, it refers to exhibits, no? Ito yung mga klase ng experience na hanggang sa tingin ka lang. Parang crush mo na hanggang sa tingin ka lang. Okay? Hindi mo pwedeng lapitan, no? Hanggang sa tingin ka lang. For example, is yung field trip. Siguro, ayan, field trips, exhibits. And then for letter C naman, ito naman yung it's more of verbal, it's more of visual experience. So for example is magbabasa ka lang ng article about poisonous snakes, susulat ka ng essay for example or reflective kung anong reflection about poisonous snakes. So pwede siya, pero I think ang pinaka-the best na pamamaraan na pwede nating i-employ kapag magtuturo tayo ng poisonous snakes would be letter B, iconic experience. Gaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, no, under the iconic experience, nandun yung field trip or pwede ring virtual field trip na pupunta kayo sa isang zoo, no? And then, like for example, ito yung different poisonous snakes na meron tayo. Nandito yung cobra, nandito yung ganito, nandyan yung ganyan. And then pwede mong i-explain sa mga estudyante nang hindi nila hinahawakan, no? So, hindi kasi pwedeng hawakan kasi poisonous snake nga. So, the answer here is letter B, iconic experience. Next. Yan. Mr. De Los Santos would like to provide students a laboratory activity about acid and base reaction. So, dun pa rin tayo sa inactive, iconic, and symbolic experience. Which is the best to employ. So si Mr. De Los Santos daw gusto niya magturo about acid and base reaction at gusto niya magbigay ng laboratory activity sa mga estudyante niya. So what do you think yung best na i-employ? So syempre, among the 4 choices, ang tatanggalin na natin is actual experience kasi wala naman yan dun sa category na binigay ni Bruner. So is it letter A, an active experience? B, iconic experience. C, symbolic experience. Siguro magbibigay ako ng example ng activity. Pag symbolic experience, yung klase ng pagtuturo na i-implement mo, tas ang topic is all about acid and base reaction. So maaring titingin ka lang sa yung estudyante mo, patitignan mo lang yung picture, pwedeng pababasahin mo lang sila ng articles about acid and base reaction. So it's more of verbal, it's more of reading and writing. So that's for symbolic experience. Pag iconic experience naman, no, manonood lang sila ng video na gumagawa ng laboratory or kung ano man yung acid and base reaction. So it's more of video. Pag inactive experience naman, papupuntahin mo sila sa totoong science laboratory para mag-experiment doon ng acid and base reaction. O kaya naman ngayong distance learning is pagagawa mo sa kanila yung volcano experiment wherein paghahaluin yung baking soda at yung vinegar. So what do you think would be the answer for this question? Let me know in the chat box. Is it letter A, an active experience, B, iconic experience, or C, symbolic experience? So the answer here is, syempre, letter A, an active experience. Since this is a laboratory activity, so dapat an active experience siya. First hand mo siyang ginagawa. Ina-apply mo siya, no? So in real life. So hindi pwedeng nakatingin ka lang sa video habang naglalaboratory activity yung nasa video. So hindi pwede po yun. At hindi rin pwede na laboratory activity tapos magbabasa lang. So pag sinabing laboratory activity, hands-on activity. Next, ayan. So the answer is letter A, an active experience. Next, ito. Babalik tayo dun sa cone of experience. Performing experiments in science laboratory is an example of. So kapag nagpe-perform ka daw ng science experiments sa science laboratory, so anong example to? Is it direct purposeful experience, contrived experience, dramatized experience, or letter D, exhibit? So unahin natin yung letter D. Pag sinabi natin exhibit, no, parang pupunta kang museum and then mag-observe ka lang. So ganun ba yung science laboratory? So maaaring ganun yung science laboratory sa ibang mga estudyante, nanonood lang sa leader habang yung leader gumagawa ng science activity nila, pero hindi yun ganun, okay? So hindi ka na, pag sinabi nating science laboratory, magpo-perform ka ng experiments, hindi ka pupunta ng museum or hindi ka pupunta ng somewhere para lang manood ng science, paano mag-experiment, no? Pag sinabi naman nating dramatized experience, ano yun, nagkukunwa-kunwarian lang kayo, role play lang kayo, so hindi din. Pag sinabi ding letter B, contrived experience, we are referring to simulation. Pag sinabi nating simulation, it is an approximation of real life scenario. Kinokontrol mo yung environment mo para magmukhang totoo kahit hindi totoo. Okay? So for example niyan, lagi kong binibigay na example for simulation is yung flight simulator, na yung mga pilots, no, bago sila magpalipad ng totoong eroplano, so ang paliliparin lang muna nila is a flight simulator. So mukha siyang eroplano, nagfa-function siya na parang totoong eroplano. So pero hindi siya totoong eroplano. So kahit bumagsak siya, okay lang kasi simulator lang siya. No? Yun yung tinatawag nating contrived experience, simulation lang. Kunwa-kunwarian lang din, parang kinokontrol mo or minamanipulate mo yung environment mo para magmukhang totoo. So kahit hindi siya totoo. And then letter A is direct purposeful experience, meaning in real life talaga, as in ina-apply mo talaga siya. Isang example ko dyan is OJT, no? Direct purposeful experience. So hands-on talaga. So ikaw talaga yung gagawa, first hand mo siyang ma-experience kung paano gawin. So what do you think would be the answer? Is it letter A, letter B, letter C, or letter D? So of course, the answer here is letter A, direct purposeful experience. In performing experiments, ikaw mismo yung gagawa. Paghahaluin mo yung baking soda, ihahalo mo siya sa vinegar, and then i-observe mo kung ano mangyayari, no? Next is yan, Teacher Ann applies her pedagogical knowledge when. So saan ba tong pedagogical knowledge na to? So nanggaling po to sa TPACK framework. So pag sinabi po nating TPACK framework, it means technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. According to Punya Mishra and Matthew J. Coweler, no, sabi nila ang teachers daw meron daw dapat 3 primary forms of knowledge. Okay? So ano-ano ba tong knowledge na to? Una, yung technological knowledge. Pangalawa is pedagogical knowledge. And then pangatlo is content knowledge. So isa-isahin natin. So according to them, una muna is technological knowledge. Sabi nila ang teacher daw ay dapat technologically knowledgeable. Okay? At sabi nga nila dapat daw ang teacher ay fit. Ikaw ba ay fit? O fit na yung damit natin, no? Kaka-deliver natin sa Foodpanda tsaka sa Grab. But anyway, according to Punya Mishra and Matthew J. Coweller, no, yung una is dapat technologically knowledgeable ang teacher, fit dapat tayo. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng fit? Ibig sabihin fluent in information technology. No? So dapat marunong kang gumamit ng technology, lalo pa ngayon na tayo ay meron ng mga learning modalities na gumagamit talaga ng technology. Kumbaga dapat ngayon isa ng requirements sa pagiging teacher ang dapat marunong ka sa technology. Mawawalan ka ng work ngayon kapag di ka marunong sa technology kasi paano ka nalang makakapagturo sa isang distance learning or online class nang hindi ka marunong gumamit ng technology. So yun yung una. Technologically knowledgeable dapat ang teacher. Pangalawa, pedagogical knowledge. Dapat daw ang teacher ay maalam sa pedagogy. It means instruction. Dapat alam natin yung mga advanced strategies, methods, no? And modalities na sa pagtuturo. Alam mo dapat yung constructivism, alam mo dapat yung collaborative learning, alam mo dapat yung blended learning at iba't iba pang concepts no sa pagtuturo. Kasi teacher ka. Naranasan mo na ba na meron kang isang teacher na ang tali-talino naman niya talaga, pero sadyang wala ka talagang maintindihan, no? Kasi so maaring matalino nga siya pagdating sa content niya, okay, pero medyo kulang siya sa pedagogy niya. Kasi yung pedagogy, it is the art of communicating our content to our students. We are teachers at dapat marunong ka magturo. At yun yung pedagogical knowledge, marunong ka magturo. Okay? At ang pangatlo naman, the last but not the least, is the content knowledge. Meaning, you are expert or you are knowledgeable about your content, about your specialization. Kung nagtuturo ka ng English, alam mo dapat yung nouns, pronouns, verb, adverb, alam mo dapat yung dependent and independent clauses. Ano pa ba? Alam mo dapat yung spelling ng onomatopoeia kasi English teacher ka at yun yung expectation from you. So, yun. Pag sinabi natin content knowledge, you have a solid understanding about what you teach. So, mahalaga na tayong mga teacher, alam natin kung ano yung tinuturo natin. Kasi kapag mali-mali yung tinuturo natin, habang buhay na dadalhin yun ng mga estudyante natin. Diba? Isang classic example ko na lang is, buong buhay natin, yung CPU, akala natin yun yung malaking box, pero hindi pala. Ang tawag pala doon ay system unit. Yung CPU pala isang maliit na microchip lang, no? Akala natin yung box na yun, CPU. Akala natin ang tawag natin doon sa thumb-like na storage device ay USB. Ang tawag pala doon ay flash drive. Pero hanggang ngayon, hindi natin maialis sa sarili natin na pahiram akong USB o ipakibuksan yung CPU kasi yun yung itinuro sa atin dati. So make sure, please ensure na kapag magtuturo kayo, you have a solid understanding of what you teach. So dito, sa question na to, kailan ina-apply ni Teacher Ann yung pedagogical knowledge niya? So ito, is it letter A, looks into the characteristics and interests of the learners in order to choose activities that would match them, studies how to attach a video to her audio-video presentation, researches further on plasma as another state of matter, learns how to scan pictures to include in her presentation. So pag sinabi uli nating pedagogical knowledge, we are referring to the advanced, okay, knowledge of the teacher about the method strategies. So the answer here is letter A. So you are looking into the characteristics and interests of learners para mai-adjust mo siya, okay? Or yun yung magiging basihan mo in choosing the activities. All right? So next, the students in Met University are having a face-to-face classes twice a week and online class thrice every week. Which type of instruction is being pertained in this scenario? So si Met University daw nagkakaroon ng face-to-face classes, pumapasok sa loob ng classroom twice a week. And then the other days naman, thrice a week naman, is nag-online class. So which do you think is yung pinapertain na type of instruction dito? Is it letter A, radio-based instruction, B, modular instruction, C, blended instruction, or letter D, distance learning? So pag sinabi natin radio-based instruction, gumagamit ng radio scripts, no? To present the content or the lesson to the students. Pag sinabi naman natin modular instruction, gumagamit ng mga modules, wala namang nabanggit dyan. Pag sinabi naman natin blended instruction, it is the combination of face-to-face and online class. Pag sinabi naman natin distance learning, it is purely online. But since dito sa scenario is merong face-to-face at the same time online class, so the answer here is letter C, blended instruction. Next, since there is no reliable internet connection in barangay ABC to conduct an online class, students use self-learning modules or SLM to continue learning. Which type of instruction is being pertained in this scenario? So since sa barangay ABC is wala masyadong maayos na internet connection, so ang ginawa na lang is nag-produce ng self-learning modules, mga printed modules para magpatuloy ang learning ng mga estudyante. So ano din sa tingin ninyo yung type ng instruction nila or modality? Is it letter A, radio-based instruction, B, modular instruction, C, blended instruction, or letter D, distance learning? So sinabi ko, as mentioned earlier, so pag sinabi nating radio-based instruction, gumagamit ng radyo. Pag modular, gumagamit ng module. Pag blended learning, combination ng online and face-to-face. Pag sinabi naman nating distance learning, purely online. But since dito gumagamit ng self-learning modules, meaning the answer here is letter B, modular instruction. Next. So ito naman, it is also known as the brick and mortar education. So kung mapapansin niyo, no, dito sa mga sumunod nating questions is ang pinag-uusapan na natin is yung mga different learning modalities. So dito sa MET, we assure na lahat ng content namin ay updated, no? So since nasa new normal na tayo, so dapat new normal na din yung pinag-uusapan natin. So ito naman, it is also known as the brick and mortar education. It pertains to a type of modality in which teachers and learners meet in the same location and where learning content and instructional materials are presented in person. Ibig sabihin, kailangan nyo magkita-kita in person. Nagmi-meet kayo in the same location at pine-present yung content at yung materials in person. So is it homeschooling? Is it distance education? Is it blended learning? Or is it face-to-face? So what do you think is the answer here? It is the brick and mortar education. Ibig sabihin, pumapasok kayo sa isang architectural infrastructure. Kaya siya tinawag na brick and mortar education at nakikita-kita kayo in person. Which do you think is the learning modality we are referring here? So the answer here is letter D, face-to-face. Okay? And then, last but not the least, a type of instruction that will be facilitated at home by qualified and trained parents, guardians, or tutors. Kanina ang keyword natin is in person, which is face-to-face. Ngayon naman, ang ating keyword is at home. Pero, ayan, yung dalawa dito is at home ginagawa. Actually, tatlo pala. Homeschooling, distance education, and blended learning. Yung face-to-face, hindi yan at home ginagawa. So, ika-cancel na natin yan. So, facilitated at home by qualified trained parents. Sa distance education, hindi trained parents, guardians, or tutors. Ganun din sa blended learning. So, the answer here is letter A, homeschooling. Ito talaga yung hindi makakapasok kasi physically challenged or minsan naman celebrity. So, gumagamit sila ng homeschooling or nag-homeschooling sila. So, yun lang po yung questions ko for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope na i-share ninyo tong video na to sa mga friends ninyo. And also, do not forget to subscribe sa Met Review Center. At
Salamat, Mark. Salamat.
Marami kaming ayuda para sa inyo. Thank you so much, Sir AJ.
Salamat, Sir Mark. At yun, alam niyo ba, si Sir Mark ang aming IT expert sa Met Review Center. Pinakabata naming lecturer at the same time, pinaka-able din yan. So, salamat, Sir Mark. At mga kaibigan, ang ating next, by the way, wag mo na kayong uuwi, wag mo nang aalis, uuwi tuloy. Aalis kasi mga kaibigan, meron pa tayong 3 lectures. Meron pa tayong Child and Ado, Assessment of Learning, Soksay, at syempre English. So wag aalis muna. And my dear friends, we're so lucky kasi ngayong gabi, 2 top-notchers ang mag-lecture sa atin. Kanina, ang ating Sir Noy, ang unang set ang top-notcher. Top 5 siya noong 1996. At ngayon, ang ating next lecturer, we're so very proud of this guy. And one of my most favorite persons in the Philippines, straight from Cebu, mga kaibigan, top 2 ang kanyang rank sa ating board exam for teachers. Walang iba, kundi si Mr. Engelbert Reyes. Bert, kamusta ka dyan?
Okay naman po, Sir EJ.
Mayong gabi.
Right now, mayong gabi. Right now, I'm in Bantayan Island, actually, in the northern, island of Cebu. Have you gone to Bantayan, sir? So I'm in Bantayan together with my family. May konting family outing po kami. So medyo hirap makuha yung signal, but I think medyo okay naman yung signal ko ngayon. So,
okay na okay, Engelbert. So take it away, sir.
Thank you, Sir EJ. So ayan po, good evening sa lahat ng viewers natin, pati buong mundo. No, I hope may mga viewers tayo from other parts of the world. No, hindi lang Philippines, may din, no, Hong Kong, Dubai, Guatemala, ano pa ba. So I think busog na tayong lahat, no, with all the information and input given by Sir Noy and of course Sir Mark. So bubusugin pa namin kayo with more input, no. So at this time, I'm going to talk about another important subjects, no, in Prof Ed. Okay. Oh, wow. Ayan, sure. All right. So kita nyo na. So I will be tackling 2 important professional education courses, and that is the Child and Adolescent Development integrated with Research and Education. And the second major Prof Ed subject is the assessment of student learning. So, sampu-sampu din, no? So, I hope you'll learn from this. Sige, let's begin. First question. Saglit lang, hide ko muna yung voting controls. Ayan. What kind of research is appropriate to determine the effectiveness of instruction in mathematics in the grades 3, 4, 5, and grade 6 classes? A, sequential, B, experiential, C, longitudinal, or D, cross-sectional. So ayan, if you have no idea about the types of research, so medyo mahihirapan tayo dito. But of course, may mga techniques din, no? So first, we eliminate ano ba yung pinaka-obviously na parang feeling natin wala namang ganong type of research. And of course, letter B should be eliminated first. No? There's no such thing as experiential research. All right. So we have sequential, longitudinal, and cross-sectional. So if you're just for you to know, etong tatlong ito po ay okay. Oh, sorry. So yung sagot, ayun na pala, no? May sagot na pala. The answer is letter D, cross-sectional. Bakit? Now, A, C, and D are actually types of developmental research. All right? So, research, may mga ano pa yan, no? May mga major types. Under major types, meron din yung mga subtypes. So eto, developmental research is one of the major types of research in which it looks at research as a phenomenon, dealing research as a phenomenon with respect to time. So eto, parang yung perspective niya nasa time aspect. So at may over the years, dalawa lang talaga yan, cross-sectional at longitudinal. But in the recent years, dinagdag na si sequential. At surprisingly, talagang ano siya, nalagay doon sa option no ng PRC LET, no, isa to sa mga nilalagay na nila itong mga bagong mga design. So napaka-updated din ng PRC sa paglagay ng mga new topics, no. So anyway, ano yung differences ng tatlo? So when you say cross-sectional, you're studying different groups, no, immediately, one point in time. All right? So present time, isang point lang in time, pero different group siya. So cross-sectional ang tawag dyan. An example of that would be yung mga survey ng Social Weather Station. No? Halimbawa, approval rating ni President Duterte sa in months of, halimbawa, January to May. No? So ayan, one point in time, January to May 2021, at ano yung approval rating. No? So yung approval rating, kinukuha yan coming from different sampling, no, of different groups, no, may coming from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Usually kapag social weather station, 1,200 sample size yan. So Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao represented different socio-economic statuses, represented din, no, class A, B, C, D, pinakamayaman sa pinakamahirap, pati yung mga iba't ibang religious sects, no, or religious sectors, pati rin yung mga iba't ibang trabaho, no, so mga professional, non-professional, at many more. So equally represented yan, cross-sectional po yan, no. Longitudinal naman, everyone, is kapag you're only focusing in one group pero over a long period of time. So halimbawa, you're looking at ano yung parang progress ng mga gifted children, no. So halimbawa, itong batch na ito puro gifted children, no. So you wanted to observe them or study about them when they were still 5 years old. After 10 years old, binalikan nyo sila, no? After 5 years, again, naging 15 years old na, binalikan nyo ulit sila. So, naging over a long period of time, multiple points in time, kaya tawag natin dyan ay longitudinal. And at ito yung pinakabago, sequential design, the third type. It is to address the deficiencies of cross-sectional and longitudinal. So parang nag-merge, no, yung mga strengths ng dalawa, cross-sectional at longitudinal. So eto, kapag sequential class, it's studying different groups, but then over a long period of time. So you have different groups, different sectors, but then it will take 5 years, 10 years to finish the research, no, because it's over a long period of time, no. So again, why do we think that the answer for this question is cross-sectional? Now, remember, may clue tayo dito sa question. May grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. That will tell us that they are coming from different groups, right? And then secondly, it's also talking about the effectiveness of instruction in math, no? And usually, ina-assume natin na kapag ang teacher nag-measure ng effectiveness ng math, usually for the current year yan, no? For this school year, okay? So, that is why our answer for this one is cross-sectional. This is the most feasible, no, most kapani-paniwalang sagot, no, as compared to the rest. Hindi po pwedeng longitudinal. Bakit? Kasi we're not looking at only one group. Okay, different groups, different sectors. Hindi rin po pwedeng sequential. Kasi when you say effectiveness of instruction in one subject, usually nagagawa lang yan, doable lang yan in just school year. No, nakukuha mo agad yung effectiveness on a particular subject. All right, let's proceed to second question. Which of the following best implements? So this is another research-related question. No? Which of the following activities, all right, best implements research-based learning? Is it information data gathering? Is it whole class lecture? Is it PowerPoint instruction, or is it intensive seat work? No? So medyo ano to, no? I think for me it's an easy question, okay? Kasi titingnan mo lang, you just have to analyze research-related kaya yung information data gathering, research-related ba yung pag-lecture, pag-instruct using PowerPoint or intensive seat work. Now, if you look at the answer key, it's letter A, information data gathering, because if we go back to definition, no, we have to go back to the foundational explanation or to the foundational principle. When we analyze questions in LET or in LEPT, okay, we always go back to the foundational knowledge. So we go back to the definition of research. What is research, by the way? It's any formal gathering of data and information and facts, no, to advance the body of knowledge, no, for the advancement of knowledge. That is according to Shuttleworth and Wilson in 2008. Now, if we kapag himay-himay natin bawat option, no, in English, we're looking at the anatomy of each option. A, information data gathering is very tumpak yan, no? Hit na hit yung pagiging research niya, because research is gathering of information and facts, no? B, whole class lecture, medyo ano to, no? Medyo hindi siya swak, kasi when you say class lecture lang, no, nagle-lecture lang yung teacher, tapos yung mga bata nakikinig lang. So it's actually just promoting passive learning, no? Ngayon in the modern times, we, as much as possible, we avoid passive type of learning. And then PowerPoint instruction, same lang din ng lecture, passive learning still. Intensive seat work is different though from B and C, because it's active, no, it's a form of active learning, because it's the students working, they're doing their tasks in their seats, no? Kaya lang hindi natin ma-sure kung research related bang ginagawa ng mga bata. So again, the best answer here is letter A, no? So in board exam, sometimes we have to weigh in, no, because some options may all be correct, may all be true, but you have to look for the best among all the correct or among the true responses or options, no? So ganun yung board exam. Kailangan ano talaga tayo, no, hitting the balls ay palagi. All right, number 3. Using Sigmund Freud's terminologies, how can drug addiction be explained? A, id exerts too much power over the ego. B, id and superego balance each other. Or C, ego overcomes the id. Or D, superego blinds the ego. So what do you think is the answer here? No? So if you can recall, Sigmund Freud is a psychoanalyst, and he was actually the founder of the psychoanalytic movement, right? Together with other and psychoanalyst theories, no, silang Alfred Adler, Carl Jung, all right, they are psychoanalysts. So Sigmund Freud was the father or the founder of that movement, and he made, aside from the psychosexual theory that he popularized, he also made a theory about conscious mind, right? The conscious, subconscious, no, and the unconscious, or the preconscious and the unconscious, and then along with it is the 3 types of personality of your mind, and that's the ego, superego. Now, of course, because the key word that or the key phrase that we're looking here is drug addiction. So what is it all about? Drug addiction. So when the human being becomes a slave to his vice, all right, he becomes addicted to it, at parang nawala ng willpower, so parang siya animal siya. So which of these describes that animalistic behavior? So of course, if we read the options, the answer would be letter A, of course. No? It's id overpowering ego and superego, actually, no? So siya yung nagdo-dominate, no, among all the 3. Now, if we review, this is coming from the PowerPoint that I use in my regular lecture with Met. So eto yung 3 types of personality of our mind. Okay? So you have the id, ego, and superego. So ano ba yung id? Id always has to do with your innate desires, being pleasure-seeking, being aggressive, all right, and your sexual impulse. Like you want to do it now, you do it now, the impulsivity and so on. Superego naman is the moral aspect, parang angel, kumbaga. If you look at, this is you, they have the angel voice and devil's voice. So yung angel, parang yung superego yan. It's the moral, following the moralistic principle, yung conscience ninyo po, ethical values. At ito yung nakukuha nating mga aral, mga alintuntunin from our parents and grandparents and other adults, no? And pati yung mga religious leaders natin, si sister, si father, ganyan. And then lastly is the ego. Ito yung parang may touch of reality, no? Siya in touch with reality. realistic principle. No? Siya yung medyo mature. He knows how to balance the desires of id and superego kung kaya't naging mediator siya. All right? But in this case, because the question talks about the person being so drug addicted, all right, at parang wala na siyang willpower to stop himself. So it's actually the id dominating him if we base it from Sigmund Freud's theory. All right. Number 4. Quick lang po tayo, no? Kasi ang original plan, 15 minutes lang bawat subject. No? So, try natin i-hit to. So, for number 4, Vygotsky's zone of proximal development is the blank, no, between what the child can learn on his or her own and what is accomplished with the help of others. A divisor, B multiplier, C difference, D equivalent. So, medyo mapapanganga tayo with the option. No? Parang naging math tuloy yung topic, no? But it's not math, all right? But kasi ito Vygotsky zone of proximal development. Ano kayo yung sagot dito? When you say it's blank between what the child can learn on his own and what is accomplished with the help of others. So the answer is actually letter C, difference. No? So if you look at the source, so I have here the actual source from, Simply Psychology is a very famous site for, psychology principles and theories. And ito yung sabi nila doon sa kanilang site. What is zone of proximal development? The zone of proximal development refers the difference. So ayan, nakailat yung difference, no, between what the learner can do without help and what he or she can achieve with guidance and encouragement from a skilled partner. Thus the term proximal, which refers to those skills that the learner is close to mastery. So ayan po, no? Zone of proximal development kay Vygotsky. Now, just an add-on, hindi lang po ang zone lang po ang nasa concept niya about itong zone of or kind of social cultural theory. Meron din siyang zone of actual development, meron din zone of potential development. Pero when it comes to teaching, dapat ilagay natin yung bata dun sa zone of proximal development kasi diyan sila natututo, diyan sila mag-develop o magpo-progress, no, as a learner. Ayan po. Number 5. In cognitive development, what can 0 to 6 months old infant be capable of doing? So ito naman, this is a question pertaining to one of the introductory or basic concepts of growth and development, particularly the concept of developmental milestones. All right? So kapag yung bata ay nasa 0 to 6 months, ano kaya yung capability niya? A, say meaningful words. No? Nakakapagsalita na ba siya ng the quick brown fox kahit 0 month pa or 1 month pa? Speak single words. No? Kaya na ba niyang ibigkas yung salitang halimbawa tubig, no? Water, no? Pagkain, ganyan, no? Use animal sounds, no? Tatahol ba yung bata during this few months, no, of after birth, or giggling, cooing, and bubbling? Ayan. So medyo easy ito, especially if may experience with kids, no? If you have already a child or may kapatid ka na baby pa, so medyo alam mo to, no? But sometimes questions in LET or LEP that would cover developmental milestones usually mahirap. Parang pang pediatrician's board exam. So kailangan talagang i-familiarize, no? If not memorize, at least familiarize man lang yung yung sequence of the skills and activities para maging easy sa atin yung pagsagot, no? So in this case, medyo easy to kasi simpleng tanong naman, medyo relatable naman. So the answer obviously would be letter D. Giggle, coo, and bubble. Now, if you look at this source, all right, types of utterances produced by a child in the first year, 1 to 3 months cooing, no, at crying. Meron ding laughing. Yung laughing na yan, that's actually giggling, no? Giggling din yan. Now, by starting 6 months, nagbabubble na yung bata, no? Babble, all right? Ba, da, no? So, ayan, bubbles with duplicated syllables, no? So 0 to 6 months, so check si cooing, check si giggling, check din yung babbling. Ayan. So, okay na po tayo dyan. Number 6 na tayo. A quote from Erik Erikson. So this is also another parang another foundational concept, no, or developmental theory, no, yung kay Erik Erikson. Healthy children will not fear life healthy children will not fear life, there is their elders. Parang may mali sa grammar, no? Have integrity and fear death. How did Dr. Jose Rizal show he did not fear death? All fear the propagandist in a foreign land, or his marriage to Josephine Bracken in his death cell. Okay? What do you think is the answer? Ito naman, I think medyo obvious ito kasi we're talking about death, we're talking about integrity, okay? So, tapos sa option, may ano din, no, may translation din si moral es descansar. Sabi dito, to die is to rest. So, obvious na obvious, if natin ito would be B, no? Is mi ultimo adios, tapos may one of the lines, no, significant lines in that poem, because it's a long poem, is moral es descansar, which means to die. So I think yan yung panghuling line, no, in that poem, may ultimo adios. All right. Pero if you also analyze the other options, his attempt to travel to Cuba as a volunteer doctor, no, because this really happened. No? He went to Cuba as an army doctor, no, to fight against yellow fever, no, among the Cubans. So this will pertain, actually, if we analyze it using Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages of development, it will pertain to generativity, because generativity has to do with being able to contribute to the world, right? Being able to function well as a citizen, as a professional, as a worker, no? Parang ganyan. So that is generativity. And so is letter C, working as a propagandist in a foreign land, that is also generativity because related to work. Letter D, on the other hand, talking about marriage, okay? That obviously pertains to stage, and that is intimacy versus isolation. Ayan. Of personality best described. Hello? So,
Sir Bert, are you back?
sorry, wala po ako, no? Can
Oo
I
nga
be
po.
heard?
Yes, sir. Okay na po ngayon, pero parang lag po atang video mo. Pero okay lang. Sir, try mo nga, sir. Mag-hi ka ulit sa amin. Sir Bert? Naku, nag-lag ata si Sir Bert kasi nasa Bantayan Island siya, di ba? Nasa dulo ata to ng Cebu. Sir Bert, are you there already? Naku, nawala na si Sir Bert, mga kaibigan. I mean, na-disconnect siya, my dear friends. Ayan. So habang inaantay natin si Sir Bert na makabalik, mga kaibigan, nagawa na ba ang task natin? Nakapag-subscribe na ba tayo sa ating YouTube channel at na-share na ba to sa ating mga Facebook pages? Oh, ayan. At marami tayo. Andyan si hi Ma'am Eleanor, Rizel, Jennifer Taberna, Roslyn. Sir Bert, andyan ka na uli?
Alright, sorry sir, my God. I think napaka-intermittent talaga ng signal dito. I'll just turn off my camera, sir, if it's okay. Para
Okay.
medyo, okay po, mabawasan po yung bandwidth.
Okay, Bert. Take it away. Ay,
Okay,
grabe
saan
naman
po
yung
ako
profile pic mo, Bert. Oh, parang si Alden Richards yan.
Oh, Nax naman, sir. Sir, saan po ako huling nag-stop?
Naku, hindi ko matandaan. Siguro yung last
Dito po
question
ba
mo
sa
na lang, Bert. I-continue mo na lang. Okay, share mo yung screen.
Alright, sige po. Okay. Here. Ayan. Kita po ba? Kita po, sir?
Yes, Bert. Kita na siya.
Alright. So how is Erickson's, this is item number 7 po tayo, everyone. How is Erickson's epigenetic principle of unfolding of personality as it is applicable to learners best described by other experts? A, like a growing tree, B, like a rosebud, C, like a journey, or D, like casting stone on a pond. Now, this is also another very difficult question because if you're not familiar of Erickson's actual manuscript, actual book, okay, it would be hard for you to answer this. Now, if you have not read his actual authored book, okay, so you will really have a hard time, especially in how he compared or how he metaphorically described what epigenetic principle is all about. But nevertheless, I'll give you the answer key. The answer for this question is actually letter B, like a rose bud. Now, saan galing ba ito? I'll show to you. So this is Erik Erikson, Personality Theories, but this was rewritten by Dr. C. George Bowery, okay? And I'll show you that part about epigenetic principle. Epigenetic principle. No. Erik Erikson is most famous for his work in refining and expanding Freud's theory of stages. Now, by the way, psychosocial theory is also considered as a psychoanalytic theory. Now, development, he says, functions by the epigenetic principle. This principle says that we develop through a predetermined unfolding of our personalities in 8 stages. So ito yung nakalagay doon sa stem ng question, no? Our progress through each stage is in part determined by our success or lack of success in all the previous stages. A little like the unfolding of a rose bud. So ayan, no, kita po natin dyan yung pinaka-source. So yung kapag epigenetic principle, kino-compare natin ito metaphorically dun sa unfolding of a rose bud. Each petal opens up at a certain time in a certain order, which nature, through its genetics, has determined. If we interfere in the natural order of development by pulling a petal forward prematurely or out of order, we ruin the development of the entire flower. Ayan po, no? So I think that's self-explanatory. If we go back to the question, epigenetic principle, the unfolding of personality, and so the answer is letter B, like a rose bud. Okay, we're now in the second, no, pang-8, no, pang-8 pa pala, no, third to the last question na pala ng Underchild and Ado. Okay, what research strategy? Saglit lang po. Okay, what research strategy is most appropriate to compare the effectiveness of practice teaching in a laboratory class inside the university and another outside the university in a public school setting? A, questionnaire. B, naturalistic observation. C, experimentation. Or D, survey. So again, we want to compare the effectiveness, no, of practice teaching or yung practicum, no, natin before we graduate, di ba, kailangan natin mag-practicum, no? Saan ba mas effective yung pagpa-practicum natin dun sa isang laboratory class na nasa loob ng university or doon sa practicum natin outside university, doon sa mga public schools? Ayan, yan yung research objective natin, no? So anong type of experiment or research strategy ang gagawin natin? Magko-questionnaire tayo, mag-observe naturally, or we'll do experimentation or we do survey. Now, the answer here, of course, it's letter C, experimentation. Okay? It cannot be questionnaire lang or survey lang kasi napaka-specific naman niya, isang ano lang siya, way of collecting data, no, or gathered way of gathering data. Okay? So yung if we eliminate A and D, now we are left with B and C, no, naturalistic observation. Pero bakit hindi natural observation but letter C yung sagot? Okay, so I'll proceed. No, letter C, experimentation is the answer. Now, to explain, ang experimentation kasi or experimental research, no, is an approach to research wherein yung researcher karoon ng comparison between groups, no, between two groups. So palaging may comparison yan. Okay? So kaya experimental kasi we are comparing dun sa effectiveness dun sa inside university na laboratory school versus doon sa public school setting na outside university. So kaya experimental, kumbaga experimental research siya. Survey again is just a way of collecting data by asking individuals, you know, with questions either in person, on paper, by phone, or online. All right. Now, questionnaire is one tool used in survey. No, so ayan, no, medyo napaka specific ng scope. It doesn't really hit the question. Kapag naturalistic observation naman, it's a research technique. It involves observing subjects in their natural environment. This is often utilized in situations where conducting lab research is unrealistic, cost prohibitive, or would unduly affect the... So this is usually very common sa mga, halimbawa, if you're studying animals or plants na unrealistic kapag gagawin yung pag-observe sa animals dun sa isang laboratory, no? Lab research or yung mga plants dun sa lab research. So we'd rather go observe them in their natural settings. Okay? So ayan. So the answer for this question would be experimental research, because we want to see the effectiveness of a program that is practice teaching between two different groups. Okay, number 9, second question under child and adolescent development. Which of the following is true of a case study? So alin dito yung totoo tungkol kay case study? A, requires data from other events. B, is always reliable and dependable. C, it applies specifically to a population. Or D, it is applicable to the universal population. So ano kaya dito ang totoo tungkol sa case study? Okay? What is the answer? Of course, the answer would be letter C, no? Kasi case study po ito. When you see case study, usually specific yan, no? We're looking at we're studying a very specific case. Okay? So usually when you do case study, kung ano man yung makukuha nating results and generalization or conclusion, it was only applicable to that specific population. Okay? So, bakit hindi A, B, and D? So, if you're going to analyze, all right, sabi dito, it requires data from other events. No. Kapag you are already gathering data coming from different events, hindi na yan case study. Kasi kapag case study, specific to that event or specific to that phenomenon. Pwedeng different times, pero isang event lang taga. Halimbawa, the dancing sun, no? Case study calls the dancing sun. Now, dancing sun phenomenon happened several times already. So, case study pa rin yan, no? Pero nakatutok sa isang phenomenon or event. Hindi po pwedeng iba't ibang events. Now, is it all reliable and dependable? Now, not always, no? Kasi I mean, all research types of research the reliability can be questionable, no? Depending really on how it was implemented. Okay? So hindi po pwedeng always. Okay? It may be reliable, no? But not always. Okay. Now, let's see, applicable to the universal population. So again, ito yung medyo unique feature ng case study. When you say case study, it's only true to that certain phenomenon, to that setting, to that specific case. It cannot be generalizable, unlike other types of research. Okay? So if we define case study, real-life context, it's an in-depth investigation of a single individual, group, or event. So it cannot be other events or multiple events. And then it's also an in-depth study of a particular situation rather than a sweeping statistical survey. So it cannot be generalized like universal. It can be universalized. And then number 10, the last item for child and adult. In Bandura's theory, the teacher who can be observed in school is A, substitute model, B, virtual, C, symbolic model, D, live model. Now this question, I think appeared during the times of pandemic. Okay, so when you say teacher that can be observed in school, it's assuming na face-to-face yung class at nakikita ng mga bata yung school talaga, ay yung teacher talaga sa classroom. Alright? So anong type of model yan? Substitute, virtual, symbolic, or live? So if hindi natin alam kung ano yung mga types of models ni Albert Bandura, pwede namang i-analyze na lang natin yung kanilang key terms, no? Substitute, virtual. Most likely, we get a clue na the answer should be live. Alright? Kasi na-observe right now, at this moment, dun sa right here, right now, dun sa school mismo. So, live model. So, ano-ano ba yung different models. So Bandura, this is still coming from another very good site for psychology. Okay, so Bandura identified 3 basic models of observational learning: a live model, a symbolic model, and a verbal instructional model. When you say live model, ito yung actual individual na nagde-demonstrate, nag-act out ng behavior or right in front of the students. When you say symbolic model, ito yung mga we learn from books, films, TV programs, or online media. When you say verbal instructional model, ito yung we've learned from simply them talking, or telling us, explaining to us, or describing to us. Okay? So walang demonstration, nagsasalita lang. So verbal instructional po yan. Yung mga, di ba, sa basketball, may coach, tapos nag-explain lang, ipasa mo without demonstrating. So nagiging verbal instruction model lang si coach at that time. Pero si teacher, din demonstrate yung dance, din demonstrate yung paano gawin yung experiment, nagiging live model si teacher. All right? So I hope that's clear. Now let's proceed to another major prof ed subject, and that is the assessment of student learning. So ito medyo madugo ito, especially for those na medyo hate yung math. All right? So number 1 question. Reliability of tests can be improved by various factors, and one is blank, in which scores are spread over a range of abilities. A, heterogeneous of the student group. B, moderate item difficulty. C, increased number of score items. D, objective scoring. Now take note, ito mahirap ito, no? Because I tell you, all of the options here are ways to improve the reliability of tests, no, or of an instrument. No, for example, even a survey questionnaire. It has, para maging reliable yung ating test na binigay, dapat heterogeneous yung group na binigyan natin ng exam or test. Dapat yung mga items medyo moderate yung item difficulty, because when majority falls in the middle, no, kasi kapag moderate yung item difficulty, most likely yung performance ng mga bata would follow a bell curve, right, or normal distribution. At kapag normal distribution, medyo widespread, yung medyo mataas yung dispersion. Okay? May top, may above average, may meron below. Okay? When you see increased number of score items, it's also a way, no, to increase reliability, at the same time spread over a range of abilities. Objective scoring, it's a way to make your exam reliable. Okay? But ano ba talaga yung pinakasagot? Of course, no, this is very difficult, but if we are going to justify, all right, the best answer will be letter C, increased number of score items. Actually, the top two options na pwede maging sagot for this option, for this question, would be letter B and C. Bakit? Kasi naka-specify sa question, itong sabi dito na in which scores are spread over a range of abilities. So what we are aiming is to see a wide dispersion of abilities. So makikita yung magsa-spread out yung mga performances ng mga bata. Okay. O pwedeng making your question test item moderate in terms of difficulty, pwede yan. You will achieve a normal distribution. But take note, not necessarily na makukuha mo yung spreading over a range by just doing this, no, item difficulty. Because if you look at the succeeding graph, that one, you can see here na medyo dispersed, no, yung ating range of abilities, talaga, wide dispersion of the subjects or the test takers, no, normal distribution. This we can achieve this kapag we do moderate item difficulty. But pwede rin maging ganito yung itsura, na kung saan we still achieve a wide dispersion, pero not because of item difficulty, no? Halimbawa, ito, no, flat talaga all throughout, equal for every test score. Halimbawa, nakakuha ng 1, nakakuha ng 2, nakakuha 3, equal lang, 5 students until perfect score, no, tig 5 students. So flat siya, no, uniform distribution ang tawag. Pwede yung U-curve. Walang masyadong gitna, pero marami liit yung score, marami yung mataas yung score, no? O mababa yung score, mataas yung score. So ayan, no, so not necessarily na ma-achieve natin yung wide dispersion. But if you increase the number of score items, halimbawa from 10 items lang, ginawa mong 100 test items, well, mas nakikita mo yung dispersion. Makikita mo na may mga estudyante makakuha ng 7, may estudyante makakuha ng 22, may estudyante makakuha ng 98. No? Hindi lang, unlike sa 1 to 10, no? 10 test items lang, ang makita mo lang na performances would be 1, 2, 3, hanggang 10 lang din. No? Pero kung dadamihan mo pa ng score items, dadamihan mo pa ng items, mas makikita mo yung spread. Alright? So yan yung pinaka-rational. Alright. Number 2 na po tayo. Which one can enhance the comparability of grades? A, formulating tests that vary from one teacher to another. B, using a common conversion table for translating test scores into ratings. C, individual teachers giving weights to factors for rating. D, allowing individual teachers to determine factors for ratings. Again, ano ba yung tanong? Kailan ba magiging comparable yung grades? Mean to say, pwede mo siya ma-compare. No? Halimbawa, you want to compare your performance from this subject versus your performance from another subject. No? So minsan, kapag raw score, hindi natin matatansya. Lalo na kung iba yung perfect score nila. Halimbawa, English, nakakuha ka ng 102 of 150 items. No? Pero sa math naman, yung score mo was 88 out of 95 total score. Okay? So, medyo mahihirapan ka kung saan ka ba nagpa-perform better. So, kailangan i-transmute. Okay? I-convert. Yeah. So, para maging comparable. So, we use conversion table. But in the Philippines, our term is transmutation table. Para maging comparable yung performance or yung score or yung grade, yung mga raw scores, nagiging ratings or grades na sila. Okay? Ito yung ginagamit ng DepEd ngayon. Ito yung transmutation table ng DepEd. So, kapag ganito yung mga, halimbawa yung mga raw score ninyo, magiging ganyan yung rating or yung actual grade na lalabas. Alright? Comparable na lahat. Okay? Number 3. According to their scope, what is assessment of learning concerned about? A, what students should learn. B, how much students are. C, who are the best learners in school, or the issues in classroom teaching. Now, this is another basic concept about this. There are 3 types of or terminology, no? Modern terminology when it comes to assessment. There is assessment of learning versus learning, and those are. Let me reveal the answer first before. Okay. Sorry po, nawala ako ng saglit, no? I hope medyo hindi pagkawala ko po. So I'll go back na number 3. Okay? According to their scope, share screen pala ako, no? Sorry po. Share. Ayan. According to their scope, what is assessment of learning concerned about? So again, this question, our answer should let. Okay, sorry. Parang nag-prompt siya na unstable ulit. Okay. Ayan. So our answer is letter B. No, how much students are learning? Okay? Bakit? Ba't ganyan kapag assessment of learning? So if we go back, all right, to the basic concepts, assessment for learning, just remember the word therefore, okay? Isipin niyo na lang na shortcut yan for formative. Ibig sabihin, when you do assessment for learning, lahat ng ginagawa ni teacher is para these are formative assessment para matulungan yung bata, no? So when teachers use inferences about students' progress to inform their teaching para maiba, ma-adapt or ma-re-strategize niya yung pagtuturo niya para mas matuto pa yung mga estudyante, no? Formative. Kapag assessment as learning, AS, no? AS there, baligtaran mo magiging SA. Now, just think na kapag SA meaning self-assess, this is pertaining to giving students the opportunity to self-assess themselves. Ayan. Kapag kapag assessment as learning occurs when students reflect on and monitor their own progress. Kapag assessment of learning, so ito na talaga, ito na has to do with grades na, no? Occurs when teachers use evidence of students to make judgment, okay? Whether students have achieved the goals and standards. So go back to the question, what is assessment of learning? So we are measuring how much students have learned. Okay, number 4. In his conduct of item analysis, teacher Neil found out that more from lower group got items number 6 correctly. This means that item is A, has a negative discriminating power, B, has a positive discriminating power, C, high reliability, D, low validity. Now, basically, kapag tinitingnan natin ang performance ng upper group versus lower group, this has to do with discriminating power. It's one of the things we look into when we do item analysis. All right? Kapag the teacher does item analysis, you have to consider the item difficulty. That's one. The second thing that you have to consider also would be discriminating power of the items. Whether this item is able to discriminate the good or the well-performing, okay, the top of the class, the upper group, versus those poorly performing students or those in the lower group, no? Kapag mas maraming mga bata ang nakakuha ng okay, sorry, I think I have a wrong answer key here. The answer key here, it should be negative discriminating power, no? Kasi hindi na discriminate ang item number 6 ng maayos kasi more from lower group ang nakakuha ng correct answer kaysa sa upper group. Okay? So the answer here is negative discriminating power. Now let me show to you the explanation, no? Kasi I think mali yung highlights ko dito. Ito. Kapag tama nga, negative discrimination index kapag more students from the lower group got the item correctly, no? So yun yung tanong, di ba? In item number 6, more from the lower group got the item correctly. So negative discrimination index yung sagot. Okay? Positive yan kapag more students from the upper group or yung mga matatalino ang nakakuha ng sagot. All right? So let me change the answer key right there and then delete this. The answer is this one. All right. Ayan. So klaro na po. The answer is letter A, negative discriminating for this test item. No? So medyo na-overlook ko yung details ng question. All right. To compute the discrimination index, you just have to simply subtract, no? Upper group minus lower group, then divided by the total number of students per group. Okay? So yan lang po yung ating criteria or yung ating formula, no? Formula to solve the discrimination index. Okay. Which assessment which assessment is or are used to determine the grade of students? Formative, summative, or assessment of learning? A, 2 and 3, B, 1 and 2, C, 1 and 3, and D, 1 only. So again, I've explained a while ago na kapag assessment of learning, you're already making judgment. And so it is related with summative assessment. Okay? Kapag ang related concept niya is assessment for learning. Tandaan natin, kapag for, shortcut yan ng formative. So kapag assessment for learning, ibig sabihin it has to do with formative assessment na binibigay ni teacher. Kapag assessment of learning, it has to do with grading already, making judgment, teacher making judgment. So summative assessment po yan, yung mga periodical exam, yan, summative assessment po yan. So the answer is letter A. Okay? 2 and 3. Yan po yung sagot, no? 2 and 3. Now, if we look at DepEd Order number 8, series of 2015, also known as the classroom assessment, the K-12 basic education program, yung policies and guidelines of K-12 assessment. Okay? Nakalagay talaga doon sa dokumento na ito, no, yung DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015 na yung summative assessment at assessment of learning are related. At sabi din dito, ito yung summative assessment at assessment of learning are recorded and included in the computation of the final grade. Kapag formative lang, hindi siya dapat recorded. Okay? Ayan. Number 6. A test has high reliability. A retest method gives a coefficient value is A 0.80% or higher, B 0.100%, or okay, actually we don't have to put point, no, if it's already percentage, no, so it's 80% or higher, 100%, no lower than 70% or 90%. Okay, now the answer for this one, we have to be very again bookish, no, we have to be bookish for this question. So ano ba yung nakalagay doon sa interpretation, no, Pearson R interpretation table? So for this question, the answer should be letter C, no. It's para high reliability yung test, dapat at least hindi siya bababa ng 0.70 yung R value niya or yung coefficient value niya. Pakita ko po sa inyo. So ito po yung correlation. Okay? Positive tsaka negative. Okay? Kapag 0.7 and above, high tsaka very high, no? So covered na, no, si high tsaka. So yung tanong kasi, kailan natin masasabi na yung correlation? Kapag yung coefficient o yung R value niya is 0.7 and above. Kapag bababa siya, so magiging moderate, magiging low, even negligible, especially kapag yung R value is 0.3 to 0. Okay, down to 0. So ayan po, no, napaka-easy lang, but you have to remember, no, memorize this table of interpretation. What is the purpose of a pretest? To assess results, to apply an intervention, to determine entry knowledge or skills, or to grade learners. Ayan po. So pretest. So ano kaya? Do you assess result when you do pretest? No, most likely post-test yan kapag nag-a-assess tayo ng result. To apply an intervention? Usually, we do pretest if we already are thinking of applying an intervention. It's not because we do pretest para to decide na tsaka na tayo mag-decide na mag-intervene. Okay? So, it's that applying intervention is more of a diagnostic. No? Here, to determine entry knowledge or skills, that's letter C, or to grade learners. Again, grading learners is more of summative yan, no? Giving summative assessment. Assessing results is more of post-test. Applying intervention is more of diagnostic yan, no? Diagnostic test. But, of course, for pretest, it's more of determining entry knowledge or skills. Ano ba yung rationale or reason natin nito? Both in experimental design and educational setting, pretest is given to learners, no, to establish the baseline, no, para makuha natin yung baseline, yung starting point or entry level, no, so that when intervention is given, no, kapag magbibigay na tayo ng halimbawa bagong teaching strategy, bagong material, all right, the experimenter will be able to measure whether there is progress or none, no, after giving the post-test, no? So pre-test, you do an intervention or implement a new teaching strategy, and then post-test, and then see if you're making a difference, no? If nag-improve ba yung performance ng bata simula nung pre-test doon sa compared to post-test. So ayan, no? Pre-test is to determine entry knowledge or skills. This is third to the last. Which is implied by a negatively skewed score distribution? A, the scores are evenly distributed from left to right. B, most of the scores are low. C, most of the scores are high. Or D, most pupils are underachievers. All right, again, negatively skewed. Now, I will show to you a graph kung ano ba itsura ng negatively skewed, but for this point, I'll just show to you that, of course, kapag negatively skewed, although negative yung word, but when it comes to tests, results, it means actually very positive. It means the students are really performing well. No? Most scores are high. No? So it's either, ang ibig sabihin yan, kasi yung score, most of the scores are high. Ibig sabihin yan, either napaka-easy ng test or napaka-easy ng mga bata. So dalawa yan, ibig, no? So ito yung skewed distributions, positive tsaka negative skewed. Kapag positive skewed, meaning to say majority, yung bulk, fall below the mode and mean, especially mean, no? Dito kasi yung bulk, below the mean, meaning to say poorly performing yung mga bata. Yung mga scores nila dito, dito sila nakakoncentrate. Yung mga high scores, iilan lang sila. Pero kapag negatively skewed, also known as left skewed or skewed to the left, ibig sabihin nakakoncentrate yung scores dun sa mga high rating, no? Or dito sa mga matataas na marka, dito yung mga bata. Iilan lang yung mga maliliit yung scores. Okay? Or mabababa yung scores. Number 9, the results of assessment must be provided as soon as possible time to parents, principal, registrar, or students. Now, you have to report the result of your assessment, no, your stakeholders. But yung pinakauna in priority should be the students, of course. No? Next will be the parents. Okay? So why students? Because the person of interest is the students, and for the students to improve right away, should there be any problems with the performance, so dapat sila una mismo ang makakaalam. Pero kapag consistent, na-inform mo na yung bata, wala pa ring improvement sa kanyang performance, dun na i-report natin kay parents, no, para magabayan, matulungan, no? And now, last item na po tayo, no. Thank you for staying with me up to this point. Number 10, Teacher Alex wants his pupils to display their favorite poem among the poems each one composed. What type of portfolio Teacher EJ is expecting to see? I think it's Teacher Alex still, not expecting to see A, showcase portfolio, C, evaluation portfolio, or D, development portfolio. And of course, kasi favorite poems, yung the best lang, you want to showcase it. All right? So this is coming from the types of portfolio by Seeley. Sabi niya may 4 na types: showcase, documentation, evaluation, tsaka process. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin nito? Kapag showcase, you want only to show your favorite or yung best out. Kapag documentation portfolio, you want to highlight the growth, no? Highlight improvement from beginning to the end. Kapag evaluation portfolio, for grading purposes na. Kapag process portfolio naman, parang same lang din ng development, no, but it's more of the process, no, of the like research, no, so yung first draft, second draft, so parang same lang din, pero what you want to highlight is the process, and the other one, it's the progress. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for being with me. Back to you, Sir EJ. I hope you have learned.
Salamat, Sir Engelbert. Maraming salamat. Talaga namang pangmalakasan po ang ating mini coaching for tonight. Maraming salamat, Engelbert, straight from Bantayan Island, Cebu. At mga kaibigan, bago po tayo magpatuloy, my dear friends, meron pa akong mga announcement. Ano mo ba, Sir Engelbert, na bukas ay meron tayong ipaparaffle. Yes, mga kaibigan, kaya okay mawawala tomorrow.
Hooray!
Yes, meron tayong raffle bukas.
Pandemic.
Ipaparaffle natin ang actually, Sir Engelbert, bukas isa sa kanila yung magiging napakaswerte kasi isa sila sa unang makakatanggap ng ating 2021 edition ng libro. So bukas ipaparaffle natin yan. So very exciting. Plus, bukas na
blessing yan, sir.
Yes, oo. Actually, Engelbert, bukas naman, ito ating mga subjects. Meron tayong math, Filipino, the teaching profession, curriculum development, science, saka yung English. So mga kaibigan, tingin ko medyo pagod na yung iba, kaya yung English, ililipat na natin bukas. Okay lang ba yun sa inyo? Ayan, pero ang magandang balita mga kaibigan, tomorrow, meron tayong raffle. So ayan, so bukas ako kayo mawawala. Again, 7 p.m. Pero bago tayo magpatuloy mga kaibigan, ang ating next speaker ay magtuturo sa atin ng social science. Isa sa mga pinakamahirap na part ng board exam for teachers. Mga kaibigan, Sir Engelbert, maraming salamat. Thank you. Mga kaibigan, let us all welcome Sir
Thank you.
Aaron Degaño. Sir Aaron, are you there? Sir Aaron,
Hi, Sir EJ. Good evening.
kamusta naman sa Bulacan?
So far, sir, nandito po ako sa Malolos. And okay naman po dito. Sadyang may kainitan. Okay.
Okay, sir. Take it away po.
Thank you, sir. So, i-share ko lang po yung screen ko.
So habang nag-aabang tayo ng screen ni Sir Aaron, again, please don't forget to subscribe naman tayo dyan mga kaibigan. 4 na lang po, 400 na ating subscribers. 4 na lang. So please take the time to subscribe to our channel at syempre i-share nyo sa inyong mga feeds sa Facebook ang ating link for tonight. And of course, yung mga hindi nakapanood ngayong gabi, sabihin nyo this video will be, I think, available sa YouTube pa rin. So please subscribe tayo, like this video, and of course, hit the notification bell. Plus, i-share natin sa ating mga social media accounts. Sir Aaron, ready ka na?
Sir EJ, mangingila ko ng tulong siguro kay Ma'am Clarissa, no? Ipa-share ko na lang yung PowerPoint ko. Hindi ko ma-open.
Sige. Sige, Ate Clarissa, pa-share na ng PowerPoint ni Sir Aaron. Ayan. So magabasa muna ako ng mga comments ng mga bata dito. O salamat daw kay Sir Vert. Ayan. Salamat kay Sir Aaron. Hi daw kay Sir Aaron. Salamat. So ayan, straight from Malolos, mga kaibigan, Sir Aaron.
Hi, so good evening, everyone. And thank you for waiting. At probably ako na yung pinakahuli sa magtuturo sa inyo ngayong gabi. And Gen Ed naman yung aatakihin natin. And ang pinaka-topic natin for today will focus on social sciences. Technically speaking, when we talk about social sciences, mahirap siya in a sense na kung hindi natin nabasa yung pinaka-konteksto or hindi natin nadaanan yung pinaka-topic, hindi natin siya masasagot because karaniwan ng nasa social sciences are factual based. Ayan. So, yon. Meaning to say, kung gusto niyo talaga ma-master ang social science, particularly sa mga nagme-major ng social science, no, kahit pa paano kailangan talaga siya ng medyo madiin na memorization. Okay. So next slide tayo, Ma'am Clarissa. Thank you po. Okay. So for the first question, which religious missionaries first arrived in the Philippines? So ito medyo titingin tayo ng konti ng mga historical text dito, tsaka historical na batayan, di ba? So definitely, kung hindi natin alam kung anong year sila dumating, hindi natin malalaman kung sino yung unang dumating, di ba? Okay. So, the answer here is, please reveal, ma'am. Okay. The answer here is letter B, Augustinians. If we are going to rank them according dun sa kung sino nauna at sino ang pinaka-list based dito sa 4 na choices na meron tayo, eto yon. So, in 1565, dumating ang mga Augustinians or the Order of St. Augustine. And then their point of entry is in Cebu, consisting of 4 priests and 1 lay brother. Then, pangalawang dumating in 1578 is yung Order of Friar Minor or yung mga Franciscans. Okay? So, Franciscan came into the Philippines in 1578 and their point of entry is in Manila. Ang grupo po nila ay binubuo ng 14 na priest at isang lay brother. Then, yung mga Jesuits naman po natin, and we all know them from the Ateneo de Manila University, okay? The Society of Jesus or the Jesuits came into the Philippines in 1581 and their point of entry also is in Manila. At ang grupo po nila ay binubuo ng 2 priest at isang lay brother. And lastly, dito sa grupong ito, ang pinakahuling dumating sa kanila ay ang mga Dominicans. If I'm not mistaken, University of Santo Tomas is Dominican. Ayan, Order of the Preachers, ang tawag po sa kanila. Dumating sila in 1587. And their point of entry is in Cavite. At ang grupo po nila ay binubuo ng 13 preachers, 13 priests at 2 lay brother. So definitely, based on our historical notes, ang nauna po talaga ay Agustinians na dumating noong 1565. Okay, yan. So sa mga kumuha po ng sagot na letter B, you're correct, letter B. Okay, next po. This question is very easy kasi malamang elementary pa lang tayo, dinidiscuss na to kung saan siya pinanganak, okay? Kung sino ang nanay niya, particularly saan sa Laguna siya pinanganak. Okay. So, isa-isahin po natin. Si Andres Bonifacio, pinanganak siya November 30, 1863. Tondo, Manila yan. Si Mariana Ponce, na aking kababayan, from Baliwag, Bulacan naman siya. So sa Baliwag, Bulacan siya pinanganak March 22, 1863. Then when we talk about Emilio Aguinaldo, pinanganak yan Kawit, Cavite. March 22, 1869. Therefore, sa lahat ng nabanggit, and of course, I know na na-discuss na to sa inyo since elementary, ang pinanganak sa Calamba, Laguna, noong June 19, 1861, batay sa grupo ng mga bayaning meron tayo dito, ay si Jose Rizal. Ayan. So sa mga nakasagot po ng letter D, Jose Rizal, that is the correct answer. Very good. Okay? Next po. Now, this question is, the newspaper of the reform movement against the Spanish colonial rule was blank. Okay. Kung titingnan natin yung mga choices, meron tayong dalawang tatanggalin dito. Bakit? Yung isa is pamosong nobela ni Dr. Jose Rizal na kanyang inialay para sa Gumburza. Definitely, hindi na natin magiging sagot ang letter A na El Filibusterismo. And then, yung sumunod naman, letter C, na may ultimo adios, na merong literal na kahulugan na my last farewell. Okay? So, my last farewell. Ito naman po is yung poem na sinulat ni Dr. Jose Rizal before his execution by firing squad on December 30, 1896. So, meron na lang tayong dalawang pagpipilian. Is it La Solidaridad or La Independencia? Now, let's try to look at the question again. Ang sabi dito, newspaper of the reform movement. Ibig sabihin, grupo ito. Hindi lamang ito itinatag ng iisang tao. Okay? La Independencia is the periodical newspaper of the Philippine Revolution, and its release was September 3, 1898. Okay? September 3, 1898. And it was founded and edited by Antonio Luna. Okay? And the publication of the paper lasted until November 11, 1900s. Therefore, the answer for this question is letter B, La Solidaridad. And La Solidaridad, in 1888, it was founded by a Filipino expatriate journalist, Graciano Lopez Haina. So, saan niya ba ito tinatag? La Solidaridad ay tinatag po hindi sa Pilipinas, kundi sa Barcelona, Spain. Okay? So, yan. So, the answer here is letter B. Okay. Next. Through the galleon trade, from 1565 to 1815, the Philippines has extended contacts with blank. So, anong particular na lugar? Is it Spain? Is it Spice Islands? Is it China? Or Mexico? Now, let's focus dun sa term na galleon trade. And when we talk about galleon trade, the famous galleon trade na namagitan sa Pilipinas at sa bansang ito, definitely, is yung tinatawag nating Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Okay? Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. And Acapulco is part ng Mexico. That's why our answer for this question is letter D. So, just to give you another information about the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade, no? From 1565 to 1815, bawat taon, merong isang vessel or merong isang vapor or barko na naglalakbay from Manila to Acapulco, then pabalik. Okay? So, isang beses lamang po yan nangyayari sa isang taon. Ayan. Next question po. Okay. So, this one is geography. A sea is a great body of salty water smaller than an ocean, more or less landlocked. which is a large part of the ocean, or C, partly enclosed by land. Okay? C, partly enclosed by land. Ocean or sea po ang tinutukoy natin dito. The choices are the following. Letter A, lake. Letter B, gulf. Letter C, canal. Or letter D, strait. Definitely, if we are going to recall our knowledge about geography, hindi na natin magiging sagot dito sa letter A na lake. Letter A, lake. Si lake, of course, it is a body of water, pero sa loob ng kalupaan. And the best example that we can give as a lake is yung Taal Lake na meron tayo dito sa Pilipinas. Kapag sinabi nating canal, okay, canal can be a man-made, okay? A man-made way. Yan. So, pwedeng artificial waterway for navigation siya tulad ng Suez Canal, okay? Or for draining or irrigating land. So, yun yung tinatawag nating canal. Kapag sinabi naman nating strait, it is comparatively narrow passageway connecting two bodies of water. Pwede na yung Taiwan Strait na nagdudugtong between South China Sea and also the Sea of Japan, yung portion na yan. Pwede natin masabi na Taiwan Strait because it connects two bodies of water. Therefore, our answer here is letter B. Okay? Letter B, Gulf. So, allow me to tell you, class, na pag sinabi natin Gulf, Gulf is a portion of the ocean, okay, that penetrates land. So, nagbabari po siya sa size, nagbabari siya sa shape, at nagbabari rin siya sa depth, okay? They are generally larger and more deeply indented than bays. So, hindi siya katulad ng Manila Divide or what. So, mas malaki siya doon, in other words. Okay. So, there are major gulfs in the world. The first major gulf is yung tinatawag natin Gulf of Mexico, which is considered as the largest gulf in the world. Next, we have the Gulf of Carpentaria in Australia, and also the Persian Gulf that is located in Arabian Sea. That's why our answer here is letter B. Okay? Next po. So ito na naman tayo. Dito magkakatalo-talo lang to sa mga date kung kailan sila nanilbihan sa Pilipinas, di ba? Okay. Who was the last Spanish governor general of the Philippines? So tinutukoy dito, last. Okay. So if you're going to look at the choices, lahat po sila naging governor general, but from different terms and different period, of course. Merong nagsilbi sa Pilipinas for a very long period. Meron naman nagsilbi sa Pilipinas na for a very short period. Si Basilio Agustin, or also known as Basilio Agustin E. Davila, okay? E. Davila, nanungkulan siya bilang Gobernador General ng Pilipinas from April 11 to July 24, 1898. So April, May, June, July, 3 buwan mahigit siyang nanilbihan bilang Gobernador General sa Pilipinas. Si Fermin Hadenes, okay? Fermin Hadenes, siya yung successor ni Basilio Agustin, okay? So he became governor of the Philippines from July 24 to August 13, 1898. So buwan lang din ang pagitan, no? And his term ended nung sumuko na siya sa Manila. Next, si Ramon Blanco, or also known as Ramon Blanco E. Arenas, okay, he became the governor and captain general, okay, governor and captain general from 1893 to 1896. Therefore, our answer to this question is letter B. Diego de los Reyes, or also known as Diego de los Reyes E. Nicolo, okay, became the governor general of the Philippines. And okay, it ended, his term ended December 10, 1898 after the Treaty of Paris was signed. Ayan. So our answer here is letter B. Okay? So next. Okay. What does Brundtland Commission define as development that meets the needs of the present, so today yon, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, meet the present needs, pero hindi natin kailangan i-harm or hindi natin po pwedeng i-exploit yung para dun sa susunod na henerasyon. Is it A, sustainable development, B, environmental development, C, uncompromising development, or letter D, ecological development? And the answer here is letter, paki-reveal po. Okay, the answer here is letter A, sustainable development. Actually, yung definition ng sustainable development na nilabas or nirelease ng Brundtland Commission during the what we call our common future, okay? In 1987, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, in 1987, ito na yung pinakapamoso, sabihin na natin pinakagasgas or madalas na naririnig na definition ng sustainable development. And sustainable development is the way we utilize our natural resources without jeopardizing the future of the next generation. So meaning to say, pag pinag-usapan natin sustainable development, it's okay to meet our needs today, but also we have to consider the needs of the future generation. Hindi po pwede na para tayong one-day millionaire, ubusin natin kung anong meron tayo dito without considering also the welfare of the future generation. Ayan. So, our answer here is letter A, sustainable development. Okay, next. Okay. Hinduism is the oldest religion founded in the continent of, is it letter A, Asia, letter B, America, letter C, Europe, or letter D, Africa? Many scholars believe and argued that Hinduism started somewhere between 2300 BC and 1500 BC. So, between 2300 and 1500 BC, dyan siya nag-start. Dyan siya unang umusbong. And pinanganak siya or umusbong ang kaisipang Hinduismo sa Indus Valley, or the near modern term is Pakistan today. So, yan. So, geographically speaking, pag sinabi po nating Hinduism, kadalasan sasabihin dyan Indus River Valley na tumatagos sa northwest India hanggang Pakistan. Therefore, this country, northwest India and Pakistan, is located in the continent of Asia. That's why our answer here is letter A. Hindi naman natin makikita si Pakistan at saka si India sa Europe, Africa, and America. Yan. Baka meron ng movement ng tectonic plates kung nagkataon na ganun yung magiging sagot nyo, no? Na sasabihin natin na si India at saka si Pakistan nasa Europa na. So the answer here, of course, letter A, Asia. Okay. Next. The arrangement of a person's life preferences from the lowest to the highest is called letter A, staff hierarchy. Letter B, values hierarchy. Letter C, hierarchy of needs. Or letter D, emotional hierarchy. Of course, ang pinaka-famous na magiging basis natin dito when we talk about hierarchy, ayan, lalo na life preference na pinag-uusapan natin dito, is Abraham Maslow. Okay? Abraham Maslow. That's why our answer here is letter C, hierarchy of needs. Always remember, no, meron tayong stages sa hierarchy of needs natin. So, paki-reveal na po yung answer. Our answer here is letter C. Next slide po, ma'am. Yung sa, ayan, hierarchy of needs. Ang pinaka-basic or yung pinaka-nasa ibaba, pero pinaka-marami at mas kailangan i-fulfill, of course, yung mga basic needs or physiological needs. Pagkain, tirahan, damit. Okay? Followed by safety needs, our needs to feel secure at all costs. And after nun is yung love and belongingness. Doon na tayo naghahanap ng pagkalinga mula sa ating mga mahal sa buhay or sa mga kaibigan natin or sa ibang tao. After nun is yung esteem. Medyo binibuild na natin yung sarili natin. And after we pass through these stages successfully, that is the time for us to self-actualize, to be ourselves. Okay? Ayan. So our answer here is letter C, hierarchy of needs. Ayan. Last, last na tayo at pwede na kayong magpahinga at alam ko pagod na kayo, no? Dahil sa napakaraming inputs, masustansyang inputs na binigay sa atin ng mga ating naunang lecturers. Okay. When Andres Bonifacio died, his revolutionary activities were taken over by his wife. Of course, in answering this question, we have to make use of elimination method. Alamin natin sino-sino ba mga asa-asawa netong mga to. So, ang sagot ba dito si Melchora Aquino or si Tandang Sora? Is it Gregoria de Jesus? Is it Gabriela Silang? Or Leonor Rivera? Of course, when we talk about Leonor Rivera is a childhood sweetheart. Yan yung common na description of childhood sweetheart of Dr. Jose Rizal. Okay? She is the wife of a railway engineer, British railway engineer, namely, ang pangalan is Charles Henry Porter Keeping Jr. He is a British railway engineer na tumulong na ipatayo yung railway system between Dagupan and Manila. Okay? In 1890. Pag sinabi natin Gabriela Silang, of course, ang asawa naman niyan, syempre, Diego Silang. Okay? Pag sinabi naman nating Melchora Aquino or Tandang Sora, ang husband naman niyan, of course, is Fulgencio Ramos na once in his life naging kabesa de barangay. And therefore, if you're going to read all the historical materials that we have, the answer here is letter B, Gregoria de Jesus. Ayan. Gregoria de Jesus are also known as Oryang. Ayan. So, ayan po ang ating coverage ng social sciences. Yun po yung aking 10 questions and I hope nakatulong po ako, nakapagbahagi ng iba't ibang impormasyon sa inyo kahit papaano ngayong gabi. And maraming salamat po sa pakikinig.
Maraming salamat, Sir Aaron, straight from Malolos, Bulacan. Ayan.
Thank you so much,
Maraming
Sir EJ.
salamat. And mga kaibigan sa ating YouTube live tonight, ito ay hindi huli. Actually, marami pa tayong susunod na mga mini coachings na kung saan magbabalik ang mga favorite lectures nyo to discuss things about yung mga na-discuss ngayon. Like si Sir Noy, si Sir Mark, si Sir Engelbert, at si Sir Aaron, babalik pa sila in the future para himahimayin pa ang ibang mga information about the board exam for teachers. Pero mga kaibigan, bukas po, okay mawawala ang ating part number 2 ng ating mini coaching kung saan ang ating po mga subjects ay math, English, science, curriculum development, and the teaching profession. And the best part is tomorrow, meron tayong raffle. Isa sa inyo ang napakaswerteng makakatanggap. Unang-unang makakatanggap ng ating Met Review Center Reviewer Book 2021 edition. So wag po kayo mawawala bukas. And please spread the news, my dear friends. If you have friends, meron kayong mga kaibigan, mga kamag-anak, na kukuha ng board exam for teachers, please send them the link bukas. Ito po ay libre, mga kaibigan. Ito po ay libre. Ang wish lang namin sa inyo, mga kaibigan, ay mag-subscribe sa aming channel. Ngayon po, dahil sa inyo, nakaabot tayo ng 396. Sana po bukas, maka 400 tayo, di ba? And in the meantime, my dear friends, salamat po sa ating mga lectures. Thank you kay Ma'am Jen, kay Sir Noy, kay Sir Mark, kay Sir Vert, kay Sir Aaron. At see you again tomorrow. Ate Clarissa, maraming salamat. At salamat din sa mga umattend ngayong gabi sa ating mini coaching sa ating YouTube live. In the meantime, mga kaibigan, magpahinga na po kayo. Alam ko napagod kayo, so bukas ulit. See you tomorrow, everybody. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow. Pahinga na po kayo. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi. Again, ang mga tasks natin, i-share natin sa ating Facebook accounts ang link ng ating Met YouTube channel. At syempre, pasubscribe na rin tayo dyan and hit the notification bell. So maraming salamat po. Thank you po sa inyong lahat. Maraming